Chapter 1, 5 Lightning Snapshots. My name is Suyu, currently a senior in Class 7 of Tianyuan No. 8 High School in Tianyuan City, Dragon Country. On the podium, a group of classmates huddled together to check mock exam results, some boisterously discussing them, others frowning deeply, turning the classroom into a bustling marketplace. Sitting in the corner of the classroom, I was slumped over my desk asleep when Song Qinghwan poked me and said, "Hey, Suyu, why don't you go check your grades?" I turned my head and replied listlessly, "Same as you. No need to look to know what rank we got." She thought seriously for a moment before falling silent, probably realizing she'd undoubtedly gotten first place, and I'd undoubtedly gotten first place too. She frowned, her face full of concern as she asked me, "Suyu, don't tell me you've given up on academics just because your martial arts progress has stalled?" I sighed, about to explain my recent slump, when class monitor Zhang Shizhing's voice suddenly rang out, "Suyu, you deliberately scored 0 again this time. I get that your martial arts drag our class down, but now you're sabotaging our academic performance too? Suyu, as the class monitor, I demand you, whatever you do in the upcoming citywide exam, don't drag the whole class down again." All eyes turned to me. I exhaled deeply and waved dismissively without looking up. "Relax, monitor. With Qinghwan in our class, we'll never be dead last no matter what. Qinghwan has already been helping me, and I'll quickly get back into the swing of things." Song Qinghwan also spoke up seriously for me. "Yes, class president, you've got to believe in Suyu." Zhang Shizhing nearly gasped for breath on the podium. How could anyone trust this guy who's already handed in 3 blank test papers? Song Qinghwan then added, "Don't worry, class president. Before the joint exam, I'll put Suyu through some hellish tutoring sessions." Hearing this, I put on my suffering face, more tutoring, and hellish level at that. "Come on, Qinghwanjia, spare me this time." Before I could even refuse, Qinghwan mirrored me by resting her little face on the desk to stare at me levelly, her features scrunched up. It looked pretty cute at first, but in the next second, she switched into full nagging mode. "Suyu, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? You've been looking really off lately. Are you sick? If you are, you shouldn't tough it out, early treatment is best. Suyu, should I ask our teacher for leave permission and take you to the hospital?" I felt a dark cloud over my head. Having transmigrated over a week ago, the conflicting memories from both lives still hadn't fully integrated, leaving my brain swollen with the strain. At first I agonized over whether I was Suyu from Blue Planet who had transmigrated, or if this was just an incredibly vivid dream. I nearly went insane from overthinking before finally abandoning this philosophical dilemma. Afterwards, I began untangling the 2 sets of memories like patiently working through a knitted mess of yarn. While I wasn't completely clueless about academic subjects, I feared making too many rookie mistakes would arouse suspicion, so I simply opted out entirely until I could properly sort through both memory sets. But this girl wouldn't let me off the hook. For over a week, she tirelessly force-fed me motivational chicken soup every day, even dragging me into an extra hour of tutoring after school. Honestly, I suspect if it weren't for her, I'd have recovered long ago. Looking at Song Qinghwan blinking her big eyes before me, I heaved a long sigh. In the end, I couldn't bear to disappoint her kindness, absolutely not, because I stood no chance against her in a fight. On the first day I tried to run, she pinned me down with one hand, leaving me immobile. From that moment, I understood, life's like that. When you can't resist, you just have to accept it. Afraid that prolonged eye contact might make certain jealous individuals explode, I sat up propping my chin with both hands, continuing to space out. Seeing me no longer sleeping, Qinghan became even more convinced her efforts these days were working. Countdown begins 3, 2, 1. "Ha!" I suddenly exclaimed. Song Qinghwan quickly turned to look at me, but I rubbed my eyes, too preoccupied to pay her any attention. Ding! The moment this sound echoed in my mind, I knew my cheat ability had arrived. Congratulations, host, for awakening the Universal Compendium System. The host can use the compendium device to collect entries and receive corresponding rewards. Beep beep, the system is scanning the host's physique. Scan successful. Then I saw my own attributes. Name, Suyu. Talent, F. Supernatural ability, none. Skills, bicycle riding, beginner level, host is in a chaotic state, other skills not currently displayed. Physique, high-dimensional attribute 78 vitality, normal adult vitality ranges around 100. Note, the host is currently in a weakened state. Mind, high-dimensional attribute, normal adult mental attribute is around 100 Hz. Note, the host is currently in a confused state. Strength, low-dimensional attribute 111, normal adult strength ranges between 100 to 150. Agility, low-dimensional attribute 110, normal adult agility ranges between 100 to 150. After reading, I concluded, I'm sick, not just physically, but mentally as well. Just then, I felt something uncomfortable pressing against my thigh from my pants pocket. When I pulled it out, it turned out to be a small black and white film camera. Collection scanner, Class F can gain corresponding rewards by photographing objects. Daily film limit, 5/5. Before I could examine it further, my deskmate Lu Long spoke up. Hey, UG, where'd you dig up such an antique? Come on, UG, take a picture of me and try it out. I obliged and aimed the lens at him. As the focus settled on his plump face, a line of text appeared. Detected Class F human collection. Extremely low chance of obtaining low-dimensional attributes. I asked, that's it? Class F collections are the lowest tier specimens. It's normal to receive no rewards from them. Lu Long struck a pose, and I swiftly swung the camera toward Song Qinghwan on the left. A golden legend flashed across the lens, accompanied by a line of text, SSS level human archive detected. Without hesitation, I pressed the shutter, click, 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 a rapid burst of 5 shots in a row. Chapter 2, SSS level superpower Ice Age. Detected that the target in the catalog possesses the SSS grade ability Ice Age Dynasty. Host has a high probability of obtaining low-dimensional attributes from catalog collection, a moderate probability of acquiring skills, a relatively small probability of gaining high-dimensional attributes, and an extremely low probability of obtaining the ability itself. Song Qinghwan, who had been looking at me all along, noticed the lens was aimed at her and instinctively formed a peace sign with a sweet smile. I used up the roll of film, and the camera seemed to emit the sound of gears turning before slowly spitting out 5 photos. Song Qinghwan's eyes were filled with joy, while Lu Long probably wanted to strangle me by now. So much for women are like clothes, but brothers are like limbs. This brotherly bond was clearly gone. Congratulations, host. Strength attribute plus 10. Congratulations, host. Agility attribute plus 10. These 2 notifications made the corners of my mouth curl upward. The camera continued to display a new prompt. Congratulations, host. Skill acquired. Mastery of Mystical Beast Encyclopedia. I was baffled. What the heck was this even for? The smile hadn't even settled on my face when another notification appeared. Congratulations, host, for acquiring the skill, Mastery of Tactical Understanding. I took a deep breath and comforted myself. No hurry. No hurry. If there's no chance today, there's always tomorrow. No tomorrow, then the day after. There's always time ahead. No hurry at all. The moment I finished my self-talk and opened my eyes, the golden legend flashed once more. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the SSS grade supernatural ability, Ice Age, incomplete. I was utterly stunned. Beside me, Song Qinghwan watched as my entire body began to tremble, my arms bulging with veins, and asked Lu Long, is Suyu okay? Lu Long was equally dumbfounded. No idea. Maybe it's because the photo he took was just too stunning. No sooner had the words left my mouth than I suddenly turned and hugged Song Qinghwan. Her petite hands fluttered uncertainly, and her face instantly turned scarlet right up to her earlobes. From his vantage point at the lectern, Zhang Shizheng, who'd been secretly observing us, reddened. Lu Long gazed with undisguised admiration. As we embraced, time itself seemed to freeze. Eyes bloodshot, Zhang Shizheng barked, class is about to begin. Certain students should immediately put away anything unrelated to their studies. Snapping out of my daze, I hastily released Qinghwan and stowed my camera. To my right, Lu Long gave me an enthusiastic thumbs up. To my left, my classmate Qinghwan's small face burned crimson. Shifting awkwardly, I stammered, what if I told you I got excited because I captured the single best photo I've ever taken? Qinghwan, you'd believe me, right? I watched Song Qinghwan nod like a pecking chick, while Lu Long held up 2 thumbs in playful teasing, saying we don't even call her classmate Song anymore, just Qinghwan. Next time, would it be Huan? Just then, I noticed Zhang Shizheng at the front of the classroom, fists clenched so tight his veins bulged. Just as he was about to act, homeroom teacher Chang Yong walked leisurely into the room, clutching his thermos. Chang Yong scanned the classroom and started lecturing about the declining results of the recent mock exams, complaining how much noisier the class had been when he walked in. Sigh. These teachers were like broken records with their mantras. While Chang Yong earnestly urged everyone to study harder, I sat there below, clutching that photo, alternately puzzled and grinning like a fool. I asked the system, why is the ability I obtained incomplete? The system replied, due to the low level of the catalog collector, the host cannot currently obtain a complete SSS tier ability. I asked again, then how can I obtain the complete version of Ice Age? The system provided 2 answers. First, acquire the SSS level ability Ice Age 1 more time. Second, upgrade the illustrated collector to S rank, then collect the illustrated again to guarantee a 100% chance of obtaining the complete version of Ice Age. I stroked my chin, thinking it wasn't all that difficult, and then asked again, mind telling me what the exact probability is for me to obtain the SSS tier ability Ice Age right now? The system said it couldn't provide specific data, but roughly estimated I'd have a chance after another 100 million encyclopedia acquisitions. Taking a deep breath, I cautiously asked, then may I ask how exactly I can upgrade my encyclopedia collector to S rank? The system said I needed to undergo an FDCBAS process to complete the upgrade, but the specific upgrade plan remains unclear. I thought to myself, that was careless, I spoke too soon. In class, Chang Yong was explaining tactical coordination. Unable to resist, I mocked my own pitiful talent and let out a derisive chuckle. Chung Yong immediately flew into a rage, scolding me for ranking last in the recent 2 mock exams yet still acting smug. He ordered me to come up and complete the tactical diagram on the spot, adding that if I made even one mistake, I'd lose all my weekends and have to come to school every day to draw diagrams. I stood up, feeling utterly wronged. I swear on my conscience I was only laughing at my own lack of talent. Instinctively, I glanced at Qinghuan, the girl sitting to my left, but she showed no intention of helping me. In fact, she almost seemed eager for me to spend every day at school drawing diagrams. I kept thinking to myself, what terrible judgment in people. With no other choice, I had to brace myself and step forward. As I passed Zhang Shijing's seat, he deliberately offered to help me, but Chen Yang's sudden shout made him shrink back in fear. The entire room fell silent as I shuffled my way to the podium. With a swift gesture on his tablet, Chen Yang conjured a 3D holographic map showing 2 waves of alien beasts approaching from the north and south. My task was to lead the troops on the map to escape this wilderness. Originally, I planned to rely on fragmented memories and sketch whatever came to mind. But the moment I saw the map, hundreds of escape routes instantly flashed through my brain, and those persistently muddled memories gradually sharpened into clarity. After I digested the information, hundreds, even thousands of routes appeared before me on the map, and I could roughly estimate the success rate of each path along with potential emergencies. Just then, the system's voice chimed in, "Congratulations, host, your skilled tactical comprehension has successfully advanced to master level." Now, having acquired Song Qinghuan's abilities, it felt as though 2 tactical minds had merged within me, elevating my understanding of tactics to an entirely new level. Chang Yong, seeing that I hadn't moved for a while, scoffed irritably, "What's wrong? Weren't you supposed to be a tactical genius? You've dared to hand in blank exam papers a few times now. Are you going to pull the same stunt here today?" I opened my mouth, then carefully rephrased my question. "Teacher, what exactly are your requirements? Should we keep casualties under 10%, under 5%, or confine losses purely to unpredictable incidents?" Chang Yong was speechless at my question, his chest swelling with suppressed frustration. "Come on then," he said. "Today you're going to draw for me. I don't want just 10% or 5%. Today you're drawing a full 20%. As long as you can do it, from now on I won't care if you sing and dance in tactics class. Hell, if you want to take my place and teach the lecture yourself, I won't even object." The other students burst into laughter. I looked at Chun Young and said gloomily, "Old Chang, if I actually pull this off, wouldn't I be making you lose face?" His words caught in his throat again. He transferred the control of the program to me and sat down in my seat. Seeing the desktop covered in Song Qinghuan's photos, he couldn't contain his irritation. "All right," he snapped, "show me what you've got." He thought it was impossible for me to draw a tactical map with a casualty rate below 20%. This was the final exam for junior year tactics majors at Jubiai University this year. The perfect score required keeping the casualty rate under 20%. The exam had just concluded 2 days prior, and in the entire city of Tianyuan, only he had seen it. Amidst everyone's jeering and the homeroom teacher's flustered anger, I began sketching the map. In the time that followed, I showcased all 36 stratagems from ancient warfare, staking the enemy, throwing out a brick to attract jade, shedding the golden cicada shell, and driving a tiger to devour a wolf. I executed each with such finesse, relying entirely on my flawless calculations of battle strength comparisons and an intimate understanding of aberrant beasts' habits. In the early stages, everything went smoothly. Each skillful maneuver left my classmates dumbstruck. Even as we neared an escape from encirclement, casualties remained minimal, confined to random misfortunes. The looks in their eyes slowly shifted to admiration. Chun Yong, though displeased, had no choice but to acknowledge my tactical genius. Yet, Chun Yong maintained a faint smirk at the corner of his lips. He was certain I'd falter in the final 10%, just like all those prodigies from Jubiai University before me. But just as he was brimming with anticipation, I suddenly slowed the marching speed, dispatched reconnaissance troops to scout ahead, had the terrain specialists follow up, and maximized tactical allocation for the advance. My actions left everyone utterly confused. Some said there was no issue at the outset, while others claimed I was deliberately going easy to spare the teacher embarrassment. Just then, Chang Yong suddenly stood up and exclaimed, "How could that be?" Everyone turned to look at him, but I remained focused on studying the terrain ahead. The next second, the scout discovered shadow leeches, creatures typically found only in swamps out in the desert. Everyone was stunned. Someone joked about whether I had memorized the answers to this scenario, while another remarked that if I had charged forward at full speed, I might have been trapped in the shadow leech's snare. With the beasts pursuing from behind, escaping would have been questionable at best. Chapter 4, Destined for Greatness. The classroom erupted in noise as I once again showcased flawless multitasking, successfully passing the test. The 3D map finally displayed the word perfect. At Jubiai University, a young but scruffy bearded man blinked at the message flashing on his screen before grumbling, "Which board master is wasting time solving the problems I set for students? These questions are meant to teach students lessons. What's the point of you masters achieving perfect clears?" he muttered while pulling up the system logs to investigate. After some searching, his brows furrowed in confusion. Chang-yong? Although I warned him about the traps, given his level, he shouldn't be capable of completing it with zero casualty events. Could it be that this kid has finally made a breakthrough? No way, if that's the case, I have to poach him for our school. Can't let him languish in high school under the guise of nurturing flowers while actually slacking off. The man immediately pulled out his phone. In class 7 of grade 12, Chung-yong was utterly stunned. He had originally intended to go through this problem set with the students step by step while explaining. Moreover, he had borrowed it from a fellow teacher. There was no way he could have seen it in advance. As for the students of Jubilee University revealing that only one person out of more than 1,000 in a department passed perfectly, those students were already hauled off for rigorous closed-door training, much less the one who passed flawlessly, who couldn't possibly have any connection to me. Chung-yong's emotions were complicated. He had intended to use this problem to teach me a lesson, urging me to work hard to get into the tactics department of Jubilee University. Instead, I ended up solving the final exam question meant for Jubilee University's junior year. On the podium, I was waiting for the homeroom teacher to question whether I had seen the exam questions in advance, but instead, the old man excitedly pulled out his phone and shouted at me, pointing, "Suyu, just wait. I'm going to get you the admission letter from Jubilee University right now." I was utterly confused, and Song Ching-hwan also looked bewildered. Meow meow meow? Can I really consider Jubilee University my goal now? The other students in the class were equally shocked, with some speculating, could this be this year's final exam questions for Jubilee University freshmen? As soon as these words were spoken, the way my classmates looked at me instantly changed. Expressions of shock, envy, and even resentment filled the room. Class president Zhang Shizhang clenched his fists tightly, glaring at me as if I were his father's murderer. Outside the classroom, Chang Yong was on the phone trying to reach his old classmate Zhu Beiyun, but the line kept being busy. Frowning, Chang Yong muttered, "Where is this guy at this hour if not in the lab? Who is he talking to? Has that blockhead finally had an epiphany and found himself a girlfriend?" On the other end, Zhu Beiyun sat before his screen, muttering curses. Damn it. I knew Chun Young wasn't properly teaching and mentoring students in Tianyun City. Eventually, Zhu Beiyun turned off his phone, only for it to ring again shortly after. As Chung Young was gathering his words after getting through, Zhu Beiyun's nonchalant voice came through. "Your student finished my challenge, didn't they?" Chung Young retorted irritably. "Damn it, why couldn't it have been me?" Zhu Beiyun fired back even more provocatively. "You? I know exactly what level you're at. On that valley trail, you'd never choose an awakened to lead. You always treat awakened like precious treasures in your tactics. Don't think I wouldn't know. This has to be that talented kid you mentioned before. Well, trying to borrow my question to attack that little genius, only to end up shooting yourself in the foot?" As he spoke, he carefully scrutinized the tactical records on the screen again. On my end, if it weren't for needing a favor, Chung Young probably would have hung up on the spot. After taking a deep breath, he was about to speak when Zhu Beiyun cut in again. "Don't say anything yet, let me guess. Did you call to ask for my direct admission slot for that kid? Chung Young, you've got quite the nerve. I only get one slot a year, and you want to snatch it away?" Chung Young rarely pushed back. "Well, it's not like you ever use yours anyway." Zhu Beiyun got even more fired up. "Oh, so you do know I don't use it? Do you think I don't want to? It's because no one's ever been worthy. Humph, all those grandmasters try to stuff their kids into Jubilee University year after year. Is Jubilee some kind of daycare for their spoiled brats?" Chung Young quickly cut him off. All right. I didn't come here to listen to your complaints, just tell me straight, is my student qualified or not?" Zhu Beiyun replied with his usual nonchalant air. "If you want the truth, I'll give it to you properly. I've looked it over. This kid's tactical choices, assessment of mutant beast combat strength, and grasp of beast behaviors show he's thoroughly mastered the textbook knowledge. In terms of strategic vision, he's not as petty as you either. He knows when sacrifices must be made. But old Yong, we tacticians can't rely solely on dead textbook knowledge. What's written in books is correct, but is that everything? If today's test scenario were real, could he achieve minimal casualties while handling random events? And this is just a test problem, for all we know. He might have just gotten lucky stumbling upon the final damp shadow insect. This single question proves nothing. By the way, I remember you also mentioned this kid has absolutely no talent for martial arts. After all these years of training, his physical energy barely improved. With that frail body, wouldn't he just be marching to his death if sent to the battlefield? If he can't even set foot on the battlefield, let alone venture into the wilderness, how can he escape the confines of textbooks? Now you tell me, does this kid deserve the direct recruitment quota in my hands? Chung Yong's excitement was instantly doused like a bucket of ice water, leaving him with nothing but a heavy sigh of regret for me. Just then, Zhu Beiyun's haunting voice came through the phone again. "So when are you planning to send him to me?" Chung Yong froze. "Huh? What do you mean, huh? Are you stupid? How old is this kid? And how many books has he even read? If he can do this after just reading some beginner's manuals, imagine what he could achieve after further study? Chen Yong came to his senses and snorted coldly. Didn't you, Professor Zhuge, say that our Suyu has low talent and couldn't even make it to the battlefield? From the other end of the line, Zhuge Yun roared angrily, that's bullshit. So what if his talent is a bit lacking? Send him to me. I'll feed him blood crystals every day until he becomes a third-rank martial artist. What, you expect us tacticians to charge at the front lines? But let me remind you of one thing, you must ensure his safety until he finishes his college entrance exams. If you let him lose an arm or leg, you'll be destroying humanity's future great tactician. Yeah, great my ass. Show me something great first. Hanging up now. Chen Yong grinned from ear to ear, though his tone was impatient. Chapter 5, unless he awakens an S-class ability, he can keep dreaming. Standing on the classroom podium basking in my classmates' admiration, I contemplated how to tactfully decline the homeroom teacher's impending enthusiasm. Without the system, becoming a tactician would have been tempting, safe, prestigious, and well compensated. Who wouldn't want that? But now, asking a youth with an SSS class ability to hide behind strategies? No way. In my vision, all formidable foes should vanish with a single Ice Age technique. With dual memories and dual lives, whether as the peace-era youth stirred by wartime footage or this world's monster-slaying idealist, I remain fundamentally that same hot-blooded young man. Now that I have the opportunity and means to fully unleash my potential, I will never let it slip away. As I was lost in thought, Chung Yong returned to the classroom. Under everyone's gaze, he suppressed his excitement and said to me with admiration, Suyu, you must never waste your extraordinary talent. Professor Zhuge Yun from Jubi University has already agreed to offer you his direct enrollment spot. After the college entrance exams, Jubi University's admissions office will contact you. Hiss, the sound of sharply drawn breaths echoed throughout the classroom. Under old Cheng's eager gaze, I forced myself to say, Teacher, I actually don't plan to study in the tactics department. After some thought, I added, of course, I might minor in tactics later on. The entire class fell silent, with everyone staring at me as if I were an idiot. Everyone expected Teacher Chung Yong to fly into a rage, but instead, they saw a gloating grin on his face. He burst into loud laughter, slapped me on the back, and said, Good kid, well done. Then, as if that wasn't enough, he pulled out his phone and said, Come on, say it again. I'm recording this. I was stunned, and so was the whole class. From the podium, Teacher Chung Yong continued, It's fine. I'm not angry. It's perfectly normal for you young people to have your own ambitions. Suyu Lai, say it again, and I'll relay it to Professor Zhuge Yun for you. I was utterly perplexed but gathered my courage to repeat what I had just said. Teacher Chung Yong got the recording he wanted, put away his phone, and said with a smile, Alright, you can go back to your seat now. Today, we'll use Suyu's tactical approach for this combat analysis. The truth was, Teacher Chung Yong wasn't actually angry. In his eyes, it was perfectly normal for kids like us from the small town of Tianyun City not to know our own limitations. There probably aren't many in Tianyun City who recognize Professor Zhuge Yun's name, yet by the age of 30, he'd already been on the battlefield multiple times, leading several major battles to decisive victories. He's one of Blue Planet's brightest rising stars. His directed mission quota is something every grandmaster in humanity wants to secure for their own children, yet no one has succeeded to this day. As for my other ambitions, Teacher Chung Yong isn't concerned in the slightest in his eyes. Apart from being somewhat skilled in tactics, my chi blood isn't even up to ordinary standards. Could I possibly awaken some S-class supernatural ability overnight and skyrocket to fame? Taking the college entrance exams? Forget about the top 4 institutions, I probably wouldn't even make it into a third-tier school. Once I hit that wall, I'd naturally understand just how precious Beijing University's direct admission quota really is. For Teacher Chung Yong, what truly matters is being able to pull one over on Professor Zhuge Yun. Over at Beijing University, Professor Zhuge Yun had just arrived at the dean's office to report using this year's direct admission quota. The dean's eyes immediately lit up, asking whether the Zhuge family had produced another genius or if it was a student recommended by Grandmaster Jiang. Professor Zhuge Yun shook his head and said, Neither. It's a student of my classmates. Suyu from Class 7, Grade 3 of Tianyun No. 8 High School. He perfectly cleared my problem on his first attempt. The dean asked if it was the problem he recently set, and Professor Zhuge Yun nodded. The dean grew even more delighted, remarking that geniuses were becoming more common, and they, the old fossils, could retire without worry. Professor Zhuge Yun chuckled and complimented the dean a few times. As they were chatting, Professor Zhuge Yun's phone vibrated with a video sent by Teacher Chung Yong. Apparently, it was me. He projected it immediately and said, Dean, this is the Suyu I told you about. In the video, I spoke up, Professor, I actually don't plan to major in tactics, though I'm open to minoring in it. Those 10 words instantly seared into Professor Zhuge Yun's mind. His eyebrows twitched, and his smile took on an unsettling edge. The dean standing beside burst into laughter. Ha, interesting. This kid's got potential. Ha, very well, I have no objections to giving him your direct admission slot. Professor Zhuge spoke at a deliberately slower pace, saying they should return to the lab first. After he left, the dean lingered in thought, then recalled the final exam results of the junior year students. His expression darkened as he muttered, "These brats clearly don't have enough pressure on them." Before long, nearly everyone at Jubiai University knew that Professor Zhuge had used his direct admission privilege this year because a student had flawlessly solved all the problems he had set. The tactics department was in an uproar, and the combat department was buzzing too. Professor Zhuge was aware of what happened but didn't care. He was busy crafting exam questions, tougher ones at that, while ensuring they still fell within my knowledge range. He snorted under his breath, "Humph, so this kid still wants to take a minor? Do you have that capability?" At Class 7 of Grade 12 in Tianyuan City's number 8 high school, an 80-minute tactical analysis class had just ended when the students realized how terrifying my flawless performance truly was. Yet every time they wanted to admire me, I was asleep. This contrast made those students who desperately studied tactics feel even worse. Asterisk bang, 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 asterisk. Teacher Chungyong slammed the desk forcefully, not stopping until he woke me up. He announced, "I'm informing everyone about one thing. Next Monday, our class will organize a trip to the wilderness. Everyone, make sure to get fully prepared this weekend. Combat gear, food, drinks, and essentials, don't leave anything out. Also, Suyu, once we enter the wilderness, don't wander off. Stay within 3 meters of me at all times." Though everyone knew the teacher meant to protect me, they still burst into laughter. I looked utterly innocent, thinking this homeroom teacher was seriously overbearing. He could have just told me privately. It wasn't like I was some reckless idiot asking for trouble. I was just going to take some photos. What major trouble could I possibly cause? I obediently replied, "Don't worry, teach, I'll cling to your leg like glue." Teacher Chungyong snorted coldly. He knew my tendencies all too well. But then again, the D-level zone usually only had mundane mutated beasts, and with him around, nothing could go wrong. He gave me an extra reminder because someone had threatened him. At that moment, Xinhuan eagerly spoke up again. "Don't worry, teacher, I'll keep an eye on him for you." Teacher Changyong nodded, sighing inwardly about how wonderful it is to be young. With the day's classes over, the weekend arrived. As I was about to get up and head home, Song Qinghuan stopped me again. I took the initiative to ask, "Classmate Song Qinghuan, do you still think I need to follow you for tutoring?" Her face flushed slightly as she murmured, "You jerk." I was a bit confused until she added, "Suyu, I'm not asking about tutoring. I wanted to ask if you could give me one of the photos you took today." I immediately pulled out 4 photos from my bag, then took another one from my chest pocket with a smile. "This one's my lucky charm, so I won't give it to you." Song Qinghuan's petite face flushed crimson all the way to her ears as she snatched the photograph from my hand and fled the classroom like a startled rabbit. I shook my head with a smile, knowing she'd probably misunderstood, but I had no intention of explaining. Before acquiring the system, I would have maintained my distance carefully. After all, we were fated to belong to different worlds back then. But now everything's changed. If you like someone, you should boldly pursue them. As I prepared to leave the classroom, Zhang Shizhang once again became my roadblock. He glared at me with eyes burning like fire, growling, "Suyu, don't think you can do whatever you want just because you have some talent. Let me make this clear, you and Xinhuan exist in entirely different worlds. She's Tianyun City's combat prodigy, destined to become a grandmaster who guards entire regions. And you'll forever only be fit to hide behind us stronger ones." I calmly looked at him, slung my backpack over my shoulder, and asked, "Are you done with your Chinibu act?" His anger flared up, and he slammed his palm on the table so hard it cracked Lulong's desk, shouting, "Suyu, don't you dare cross the line. I'm dead serious." I let out a long sigh and said, "Class monitor, as far as I know, Xinhuan is among the top 3 in Tianyun City, while you barely squeezed into the top 100. Last year, only 9 students from Tianyun City District got admitted to the 4 major academies. Regardless of whether Xinhuan and I are from the same world, shouldn't you take a moment to realize that you're also light years behind her?" I even patted his shoulder consolingly and added, "I'm worse off. I couldn't even make it into the top 100, so I'll have to rely on the homeroom teacher's connections to sneak into Jubiai University through the back door. By the way, I just heard Xinhuan say she's also planning to apply to Jubiai University. With her abilities, it's practically a sure thing." Class president, talk about coincidence, looks like she and I are going to be classmates again in college. Before he could finish, I patted him on the shoulder and said, "Class president, we're both guys here. If you're gonna show off, you don't need me to teach you how to do it properly, do you?" At that moment, Zhang Shizhang's pride crumbled under my words. I lowered my head, momentarily at a loss for how to counter this. Seeing his reaction, I decided not to push further and grabbed my bag to leave the classroom. A moment later, Zhang Shizhang's indignant shout echoed behind me, "Suyu, don't get cocky. One day I'll catch up to you. I'm better suited for Xinhuan than you are." I shook my head with a long sigh. "Ah, these damn teenage delusions. What's with all this romance drama all day long? But speaking of which, that feeling of youthful rivalry over a girl you liked during high school days is truly nostalgic. Once you enter university, there won't be such fair duels anymore. I strolled leisurely to the parking lot with my backpack, unlocked my bike via iris verification, and mounted my BMW-branded bicycle. This bicycle boasts an all-black exterior, with advanced technology replacing traditional chains. Riding it feels genuinely cool. In this era of martial arts, such bicycles have become the choice for most people: lightweight, agile, durable, with even more powerful horsepower, gradually rendering those flashy but impractical vehicles obsolete. As I rode onto the road, other vehicles were scarcely visible. Though everyone rode bicycles, some seemed to glide along like low-flying aircraft, while others puffed and panted as they pedaled laboriously, moving at a snail's pace. In today's world where everyone is physically robust, my cycling speed seems completely out of place. Riding all the way home, I parked my bike at the neighborhood entrance. The security guard uncle waved at me with his mechanical arm, and I responded with a smile before running home with my backpack. "Hey, Suyu's home from school today. We made dumplings, come grab some later," shouted the bald brother with half his body mechanized, while practicing Tai Chi. Xiao Yu, come upstairs quick. Your dad went out for a walk again today, guaranteed he didn't cook. I made extra, come up and take some home. The aunt upstairs immediately opened her window upon hearing the noise, the electronic eye on the right emanating an eerie blue glow. "Alright, coming, auntie," I responded warmly to these uncles and aunts' enthusiasm. At first, I was quite unused to their cold mechanical limbs, but now I feel more heartache than anything. In this era of rampaging mutant beasts, simply being alive is already a blessing. Grabbing some vegetables from this family, some dumplings, and a bowl of rice from that one, I pushed open my front door with my foot while balancing the plates. Dinner was now fully prepared. As soon as I entered, I saw Dad reclining in his rocking chair listening to rock music, his brightly colored mechanical leg shaking to the rhythm with occasional light flashes. Well, I immediately understood the old man hadn't cooked again today. "Dad, did you forget to cook again?" I waved my hand in front of him, and only then did he take off his headphones. I got back late from my walk today, just got back late." His repeated words exposed his guilty conscience. I replied with a blank expression, "Then is there anything else you want to eat? I'll go cook some more." "Don't bother. Didn't Aunt Wu and the others bring over dishes already?" Dad clicked his tongue as he approached the table. What a feast! Meat, greens, everything we could want. Oh, even dumplings. Come on, hand me your backpack. Go wash up and get ready to eat. I handed over the school bag, nearly blinded by the dazzling light from Dad's leg lamp, and sighed helplessly, "Turn that thing off." "What thing?" Oh, turning it off now. The dazzling mechanical right leg instantly reverted to its plain silver hue. I went into the kitchen to wash my hands and grab bowls and chopsticks. Dad was arranging the dishes while muttering, "Is this kid not depressed anymore?" For several days in a row, I had barely spoken enough for Dad to suspect I was emotionally down. Maybe I'd suffered a setback at school, or maybe a romantic disappointment. He didn't dwell on it too much. Back in his day, it was normal for young people to feel gloomy at midnight now and then. Humming a tune, Dad walked to the fridge and pulled out 2 beers. Just as I emerged with the bowls and chopsticks, I asked in surprise, "Planning to drink 2 bottles today?" It's actually ridiculous. My dad's a martial artist, yet he gets completely smashed after just 1 beer every day. That made me wonder if alcohol tolerance decreases after becoming a martial artist. "Here, this is for you. You seem in good spirits today. How about sharing a drink with your old man?" Dad handed me the beer, and I didn't refuse. As Dad said, I was indeed in a good mood, so having a drink wouldn't hurt. And as for drunken truths, could a single beer really knock me out? Besides, there weren't any truths to spill. Like Zhuangzi dreaming of being a butterfly, at least in front of my father, I'd never felt any different from before, nor had any of those memories faded even slightly. Father and son each with a bottle of beer, a bowl of dumplings paired with stir-fried pork and green peppers. For a moment, I thought this kind of life wasn't bad at all. After traveling through time for so long, it was rare to have such a relaxed moment. I tilted my head back and took a big swig of beer. Dad initially wanted to stop me, but seeing my hearty gesture, he let me drink freely. "Haha, not bad. That's my boy. A real man should drink big and eat hearty. Come on, dig in. Son, listen. Don't be afraid of bad exam results. Your old man may not be much, but after you graduate, I can still secure you a stable job in Tianyun City. Life should be lived openly and honestly, just live the way you want. Look, your mom left us too so early, but didn't I still raise you healthy and strong?" I fell silent, recalling how I'd essentially been taking care of this irresponsible father since childhood. During those 2 years right after mother died in the beast tide, the old man hadn't had a single sober day. If it weren't for Aunt Wu downstairs, I genuinely doubt I could have grown up healthily to this day. As he kept drinking, Dad switched from boisterous to sentimental mode again. "Son, Your old man's useless, couldn't protect your mom back then, and when your mom carried you for 10 months, you got injured in the womb. Otherwise you'd have at least inherited some of our cultivation talent, instead of none at all. My touched feelings came to an abrupt halt. I thought to myself, Dad, maybe you should check your own talent level before saying such things. Let me tell you, back when your mom and I were in school, we were practically legendary. The entire senior year joint exams, all our other teammates got eliminated early. Just your mom and I stubbornly held on till the end, securing the winning score for our class. Back then, Tianyuan City wasn't as small as it is now. The place where we took those joint exams has become a Class B danger zone these days. Dad began reminiscing between sips of alcohol and bites of food, while I kept pestering for drink, silently listening to him share stories from his and Mom's past. I found myself missing that woman, the one I'd only ever seen in photo albums, with unusual intensity. We lost track of time drinking beer after beer, until even my silent self grew talkative. Dad, do you believe, in another dimension somewhere, there are no mutant beasts or alien invasions? Where everyone's just ordinary people. Everyone's goal is to earn a bit more money, save up, and improve their lives. People don't have to worry about sudden beast tides at any moment, nor fear that lacking strength would put their lives at risk. Maybe in that alternate timeline, our family would just lead an ordinary, harmonious life day after day. Oh, it wouldn't be harmonious at all. Your mom would definitely scold me every day for drinking and wouldn't let me touch alcohol. Dad laughed, and I joined in the laughter. Recalling everything I'd witnessed these past days, an extraordinarily ambitious aspiration suddenly arose in my heart. Dad, do you believe? I looked at my father with unprecedented seriousness in my expression. Do you believe that one day I'll tame all these exotic beasts and make them our human pets? I'll make sure those alien invaders who came to Blue Planet never return alive. Even more, we humans will avenge all those who lost their lives these years. We'll storm their alien homeworld. Dad, his face flushed red, roared with laughter. I believe it. Of course I believe it. How does that saying go? Where the enemy can go, we can go there too. I finished with heroic fervor. The next second, with a thud, I collapsed onto the table. The drunken flush faded slightly from Dad's face as he shook his head at me. You little punk, daring to say where the enemy can go, we can go too. So saying, he hoisted me onto the bed and removed my shoes, socks, and outer coat. As he took off his coat, he suddenly noticed a camera in his pocket, with a girl's photo tucked beneath it. His gossipy spirit instantly awoke. Well, looks like you really had a romantic setback the other day, he chuckled, shaking his head as he held the photo. This girl's no ordinary one, Song Chinghuan. The genius our Tianyuan City is grooming. Kid, if you don't put in some effort, you'll never be worthy of this young lady. His father sighed, already forming a decision in his heart. After making a phone call, he left me alone at home and headed out. Chapter 8: The Blood Crystal Worth Millions. Sunlight fell on my face as I groggily opened my eyes. Lifting my head to look around, a piercing hangover headache suddenly assaulted me. Propping myself up with both hands, it took me quite a while to recover before I finally registered the warmth of sunlight streaming through the window. What happened? How did I get knocked out by just one bottle? I muttered to myself. Wait, where's my camera? I quickly scrambled up to check, scanning the area until I spotted both my camera and Song Chinghuan's photo neatly arranged on the desk, alongside a small rosewood box. Moving closer, I noticed a note that read, "The little girl's quite pretty. Your taste follows your old man's, consider this trinket my token of support." I slipped the note into a book and opened the mahogany box. A blood-red crystal met my gaze. Ding! Detected a first-grade blood crystal, suitable for upgrading the illustrated collection device. Is this the blood crystal? I cupped the crimson-hued stone in my hands, trying to discern something notable about it. The thing was incredibly precious. Only ranked exotic beasts could give birth to these chi blood crystal cores, and even then, you'd find just one blood crystal among every 10,000 first-rank beasts, a true 1 in 10,000 rarity. The function of blood crystals is simple and direct. When humans absorb them, their vital energy is instantly enhanced without the need for cultivation. As far as I know, an ordinary person can absorb a single first-grade blood crystal and immediately boost their vital energy to 150, breaking through all constraints and stepping into the realm of martial artists. Last year in Tianyuan City, a high school senior absorbed a grade 1 blood crystal, boosting his chi and blood from 120 to 200. He successfully completed 3 tempering cycles and crossed into the martial disciple realm with the most solid foundation. During the National College Entrance Exams martial arts competition, no one in all of Tianyuan City could stand as his match. His exam results even earned him the 6th place in the Northwest region's historical records for Tianyuan City. Rumor has it that not long ago, when he returned to his school to give a speech, he had already reached the peak of grade 2 martial disciple status. Advancing to grade 3 would just be a matter of time. These succession of miraculous fate-altering stories have driven the price of blood crystals up to millions in the market, sometimes even becoming priceless despite the high demand. I'm somewhat hesitant, should I absorb a blood crystal to cross into the martial disciple realm first, or let the illustrated encyclopedia collector upgrade first? Rest assured, host, while the blood crystal serves to upgrade the illustrated catalog collector, the system will automatically extract the chi and blood that the protagonist can absorb for you. Explain in detail. For every blood crystal absorbed by the system, it will feed back to you the maximum amount of chi and blood that you can absorb. I instantly breathed a sigh of relief and asked, so how much can I absorb? 15 chi and blood. These merciless words weighed heavy on my heart. After all that effort, even after absorbing the blood crystal, I still couldn't break through to the martial artist realm. Without hesitation, I picked up the camera and snapped a photo of the blood crystal. The moment the picture was taken, the crystal dissolved into a stream of red mist, surging into my body. There was no need for digestion at all. The instant the red mist entered me, I felt my energy and spirit instantly revitalized. Clenching my fist slightly, I could already sense some improvement in my strength. I picked up the camera to check. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have successfully upgraded the Illustrated Guide Collector. Illustrated Guide Collector, E. Available film, 10 out of 10. Available ability slots, 2/3. The probability of acquiring supernatural abilities, skills, and attributes is extremely low. Seeing the available ability slots at 2/3, I knew I'd hit the jackpot with this upgrade. Nowadays in Tianyuan City, there's a genius high school sophomore with dual abilities who's already being fought over by the 4 major academies. Even before taking the college entrance exams, they've declared he'll break Tianyuan's academic records. Now I have the chance to possess 3 special abilities, even the opportunity to choose them. My hands clenched slightly as I thought to myself that I could be bolder. The day when I could mass-produce SSS tier abilities would come. No need to spam skills while fighting monsters, just a casual basic attack would unleash an SSS tier power. No mutant beasts or alien races could stand against me then. I took a deep breath to calm myself and pulled up my personal panel. Name, Suyu. Talent, F. Ability, Ice Age, incomplete. Skills, Tactical Understanding, Master, Bestiary Knowledge, Proficient, Bicycle Riding Technique, Beginner. Physique, Higher Dimensional Attribute 110 Vital Energy, Average Adult Vital Energy ranges around 100. Psyche, Higher Dimensional Attribute 300 Hz, Average Adult Psyche Attribute ranges around 100 Hz. Strength, Lower Dimensional Attribute 180, Average Adult Strength Attribute ranges between 100-150. Agility, Low Dimensional Attribute 200, Normal Adult Agility ranges between 100-150. 300 Hz of psychic power? Could it be because my 2 sets of memories merged, making my innate mental strength stronger than average? But this vitality stat is pitifully low, only 110. I doubt anyone would believe I actually absorbed the crystal. While I was studying my attributes, Dad suddenly pushed the door open. He looked surprised to see me. Oh, you absorbed it that quickly? Then, with a hint of sympathy, he added, it's alright, son. Some people take over a month to digest a blood crystal. Your vitality should keep increasing for at least another week. I fell silent, having truly absorbed it all, not a single word left. Dad didn't know what to say either for a moment, until his eyes flickered to the photo on the table and he changed the subject. So, kid, have you fallen in love recently? Since you've found someone you like, you ought to strive for them. Talent is predetermined, but hard work comes down to the individual. With 1 blood crystal, you've at least narrowed the gap between you and the adults by quite a bit. Once you've recovered a little more, Dad will personally teach you combat skills, guarantee someone will want you for the college entrance exams. I thought Dad wasn't very good at comforting people and, after a moment's reflection, murmured softly, actually, Dad, yesterday my homeroom teacher told me a professor from Jubilee University's tactics department is willing to give me his direct admission spot. What? Dad's voice suddenly jumped several octaves higher. Is this for real? After the initial shock and confusion, uncontrollable joy spread across his face. It's true, but I refused. My tone remained as calm as ever. The smile on Dad's face froze instantly. He found a chair and sat down. Wait, hold on, don't say anything yet. Let me process this properly first. So what you're saying is, you could have skipped the Gokao entirely to enroll directly in Beiju University's tactics department as a professor's protege, and you turned it down to take the college entrance exams like everyone else. I want to go for the combat track, with tactics as just a minor at most, I stated with firm conviction. Dad didn't reprimand my decision, but his gaze was full of skepticism. Facing the doubtful look, I nearly performed an Ice Age spell on the spot. Before I could explain further, Dad unexpectedly came around first. Never mind. I was just wondering whether trading that achievement for blood crystals would be worth it. After all, keeping this merit could have secured you a government position in Tianyuan City later, guaranteeing your livelihood. But seems it's unnecessary now. My boy's got real talent. This blood crystal was totally worth the trade. Since that professor from Jubai University sees potential in you, you can always apply for their tactical department if push comes to shove. Son, today your old man needs to teach you a principle about life. When the situation calls for it, swallow your pride. Face isn't worth a damn thing. Watching my usually carefree father who'd actually planned everything out for me in advance, I suddenly felt inspired. Dad, let me take a photo of you. Chapter 9, Goal, Top Scholar. Oh, my son knows how to take photos of his old man now. Dad's face instantly bloomed with a chrysanthemum bright smile as he struck pose after pose. One moment he wanted to showcase his colorful right leg, the next he felt the need to hide it. Even got the bizarre impulse to dismount the prosthetic and raise it triumphantly with both hands. Seeing this, I quickly intervened. Dad, look over here, follow my lead, say cheese. Instinctively, he complied by flashing the peace sign. I snapped the shot with practiced speed. As the film advanced word, our fresh photo emerged, capturing Dad's beaming smile and that resolute, weather-worn face perfectly framed by his V sign. Although Dad wasn't entirely satisfied with this pose, he still happily tucked the photo into his breast pocket, and I was quite pleased with the picture I'd taken. Just then, the system notification suddenly chimed. Congratulations, host, for acquiring the skill, Unarmed Combat, Intermediate, which made me pause in surprise. Immediately afterward, a flood of unarmed combat techniques surged into my mind, and I even felt my muscles forming muscle memory. As just an intermediate skill, I was startled to realize that my current self could probably take down my untrained self in under 10 seconds. And this was only an intermediate skill, such immense changes already. This made me, who had always focused on supernatural abilities, suddenly realize how terrifying skills without acquisition limits could be. Perhaps one day I could even become a jack-of-all-trades master. Dad was happily chatting away beside me when I swiftly raised the camera again, rapidly clicking the shutter. Crack, crack. The system prompted once more. Congratulations, host, for acquiring skill, Wilderness Survival, Advanced. Congratulations, host, for acquiring skill, Dagger Combat, Intermediate, which made me unable to suppress a grin. What luck, 3 consecutive skills, each offering significant improvement for me. Dad swatted the back of my head and said, "What are you up to, wasting so much film?" He then snatched 2 freshly developed photos from my hand, compared them, picked the most flattering one, and shoved it back at me. "Keep this one. You just absorbed the blood crystal, take some time to digest it. I won't disturb you anymore." Dad left the room after speaking, forcing me to halt my plan of using up all 10 rolls of film in one go. I muttered in frustration, absorbing, just 15 life force units in total. Even absorbing for another year wouldn't make a difference. Yet remembering the skill I just acquired, my eyes lit up. I immediately threw a few bare-handed punches in the cramped space, then picked up a pen to practice daggers techniques. With each stab and slash, the slender pen in my hand seemed to emit a chilling aura, gleaming like a dagger with a menacing cold gleam. After indulging freely in the experience, I was already drenched in sweat. After testing my abilities, I recalled my most important power and mental strength that far exceeded 3 times that of ordinary people. My gaze fell on the unfinished cola on the table, my eyes seemingly shimmering with blue light as my will flowed. The cola bottle and its contents instantly transformed into a block of ice before me. Outside, the dad who was listening to rock music suddenly felt a chill. He rubbed his arms and muttered, "Why does it feel like the weather's getting colder?" Inside the house, dizziness washed over me after testing my abilities. As the blue glow faded from my eyes, the ice cubes on the table instantly vanished. I closed my eyes and took a moment to compose myself before summarizing. We can roughly control the distance and scope, but the intensity still seems inadequate. It feels like being suddenly drained dry. No, I still need more training. Otherwise, having an SSS class ability but only being able to fire one shot would be disastrous. After resting with my eyes closed for a few minutes, I felt much better and thought to myself, not bad. It seems my mental energy recovers fairly quickly. After sensing all my current supernatural abilities, I began to contemplate what to do next. With the illustrated encyclopedia collector in hand, the fastest way now is to gather images of those powerful individuals. Any random skill or ability could give my strength a leap forward. Which places in Tianyuan City have the strongest individuals? The teachers and principal at the school, perhaps, but without a legitimate reason. Taking photos would require stealthy methods. Best to leave that for now. Martial arts schools and the military? No way, those are even harder and come with real dangers. That leaves only the wilderness. With my current strength, venturing into a D-class wilderness wouldn't be a problem, maybe even a C-class could be worth exploring. But there's no need to take unnecessary risks right now. At the thought of this bold idea, I immediately snapped myself back to reality. If I want to attract more attention from the elites and secure greater resources for the college entrance exams, it seems I'll have to venture into the wilderness more often. But even taking photos in the wild needs a solid excuse. Exactly. Tactician. First, Get yourself a low-level tactician certification. Then when you head into the wilderness with your camera, just say you're conducting research on mutant beast behavior. With a tactician badge in hand, no one should give you any trouble. After pondering for a moment, a rough plan formed in my mind. Those so-called geniuses with extraordinary abilities all vowed to set new records in the Gaokao, so why couldn't I establish a goal so high that no one could ever surpass it? College entrance exam top scorer. My gaze was unwavering. Beyond just youthful defiance, enrolling as the top scorer made it easier to access stronger opponents for my collection catalog, which was another reason I aimed for first place. I know that many of yesterday's words were spoken while intoxicated, but though the body was drunk, the heart remained sober. Since the words were spoken, they must be acted upon. With the direction and method clarified, I sprang into action immediately. Stepping out of the room, the first thing I did was open the fridge to check what was up with yesterday's beer. Seeing the alcohol percentage labeled on the bottle, I fell silent. This stuff was just alcohol with beer flavor. Dad saw me pick up a beer and laughed. "You can't hold your liquor, kid. You just got drunk yesterday, so don't drink today." I put the beer back in the fridge and said, "I wasn't planning to drink." Dad asked, "Then what do you want to do?" I changed the subject. "Dad, got any money?" He froze for a second. "How much do you need?" "Not much, 50,000. I'm planning to take the Tactician Alliance exam to get certified as a tactician." Dad said decisively, "No." I was stunned. Dad had gifted me blood crystals worth millions, so how could he not have 50,000? This was the first time I'd ever asked him for money. Dad also said, "We really don't have the money. If you want to take the exam, figure out how to raise the funds yourself. Aren't you getting an extra 5,000 per month as a tactician? You could pay it back within a year." Great, Dad was starting to slack off. I let out a long sigh, as if to say that since Dad wasn't making an effort, his son would have to shoulder the burden. After sighing, I didn't give Dad a chance to react. I immediately slipped out of the house. A household without a woman managing the finances just doesn't cut it. Can't even scrape together 50,000 in a pinch. Heartbreaking. The moment I stepped out, I called Lu Long and got straight to the point. "You got any cash on you right now?" "Yeah," he replied, then added, "Wait, who is this? How did you get my desk mate's phone? Where's Suyu? Has he been kidnapped?" His chrysanthemum as his words spiraled further into absurdity. I quickly interrupted. "You're messing with me on purpose, aren't you? Can't you recognize my voice?" Lu Long chuckled. "Brother Suyu, I'm just being cautious. How much do you need, Brother Suyu?" 50,000. I'm planning to take the tactician certification exam." "Whoa, Brother Suyu, I knew you weren't ordinary. When you become a tactician, you've gotta watch my back." I interrupted again. Alright, stop right there. First, tell me if you even have it." "Don't have 50,000, just bought a new bike recently, only got 20,000 left." "Fine, send it over first, and I'll figure out the rest." "Okay." Friendly reminder, Brother Suyu Song Qinghuan has a ton of pocket money. Before hanging up, Lu Long made sure to slip that in. Looking at the 25,000 yuan deposited into my account, I smiled. I had truly planned it this way all along. Song Qinghuan received a generous scholarship, so borrowing from her was bound to work out perfectly. I gathered my thoughts and dialed Song Qinghuan's number. 10 minutes later, she arrived at my location in a white tracksuit, speeding through the streets. I sighed helplessly. "Qinghuan, I've already told you I'm really going to take the tactician certification exam. Why won't you believe me?" Song Qinghuan's large, expressive eyes shimmered as she replied, "Suyu, I do believe you. I just want to go with you to the tactician examination hall to take a look." I said to Song Qinghuan, "Besides, I only have cash, so I have to bring it to you personally." This girl's eyes dart around whenever she lies. I'm beyond exasperated at this point. I said, "Let's go." But just as I finished speaking, I suddenly took out my camera and said, "Wait a second, hold the bicycle, I'll take your picture." She froze momentarily, her delicate face flushing slightly red again. Though puzzled, the moment the camera focused on her, she cooperatively flashed a sweet smile. At that instant, the system notification appeared. "Congratulations, host. Strength attribute plus 10 obtained." I handed the photo to her and smiled with satisfaction. Earlier on the road, I casually snapped pictures of two random people but got nothing. It seems Qinghuan girl is more deliciously attractive. Before long, we arrived together at the Tactical Master Examination Hall. Atop the building was the diamond-shaped emblem of Tactical Masters, and standing before the entrance was a statue of a man, Ji Qing, the very first Grand Tactical Master of Blue Star. Once in a great battle against a foreign race, he successfully lured the enemy into a trap, enabling the human forces to eliminate several Grandmaster-level adversaries at once. This victory also marked the first time the human front lines advanced forward. This Grandmaster of Tactics was practically idolized by every tactician. Standing before the statue, I paused to study it a few moments longer, then asked my system, "System, can I record this statue in the archive?" The system coldly replied, "Unable to record. which left me deeply disappointed. My lingering gaze at the statue probably gave Qinghwan the impression that I harbored grand ambitions. She earnestly encouraged me with a serious expression. Suyu, I believe one day you'll become a tactician as great as Grandmaster Ji Qing. I solemnly replied, I'd rather become a powerhouse like Grandmaster Yi Fei by able to take an enemy Grandmaster's head with my own hands. She paused for a moment, then broke into a smile. Then you can definitely do it too. I fell silent as her old habit of avoiding eye contact surfaced again, her gaze darting about nervously. Let's go, I said. First, let's become junior tacticians. Entering the hall, I found it bustling with people. There was a dedicated payment counter. After paying, you'd wait for your number to be called. When summoned, you could enter the examination room to prepare for the test. 3 randomly generated questions awaited. To pass, you had to achieve a casualty rate of 20% or less across all 3 within half an hour. Currently, the hall's large screen displayed real-time footage of 10 challengers undergoing their assessments. A casual glance told me none of them would make it. Arriving at the payment counter, I first transferred 20,000 yuan via mobile payment, then took 30,000 in cash from Qinghwan to complete the transaction. This bizarre scene drew curious stares and murmurs from surrounding onlookers. Seeing how young Qinghwan and I appeared, a well-meaning man stepped forward to caution me. Young man, you're still in high school, right? The Tactical Master Qualification exam isn't as simple as you imagine. Take my advice, wait a few more years to take the test, otherwise this 50,000 yuan will just go down the drain. Look how hard your girlfriend worked to save up this money for you. Hearing this, I internally facepalmed, wondering what wild scenarios these people had imagined. Not only did this kind stranger try to stop me, even the cashier processing our payment warned Qinghwan, are you absolutely sure about letting him use this money for the exam, little girl? Don't let anyone fool you. Don't be fooled just because passing the assessment gives you an extra 5,000 each month. It's been over a month since anyone here successfully passed it. Qinghwan couldn't help but nod with amusement. The cashier sighed and finally took the money, starting the registration process for me. Suyu, 18 years old? Young man, you've just reached adulthood? I nodded, puzzled about why so many questions were being asked about me specifically. Why couldn't they just let me take the test and pass it quickly to get it over with? The sighing middle-aged man exclaimed, look at this. This kid's only 18, probably just got a whim to try it out. Sweet-talked some young girl into giving him her money for this attempt. TSK, only 18 years old and already so ambitious, even living off a woman's money. Oh, the thick stack of cash Qinghwan took out instantly made me the center of attention in the entire hall. Those indifferent expressions all took a second glance at me. In the mouths of the enthusiastic uncles, I became a kept man, and Qinghwan became the lovesick fool. Qinghwan shuffled over to me and whispered, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were really here to take the tactician certification exam. If I'd known, I would have just transferred the money to you directly. Covering my forehead with a sigh, I realized my troublemaker image was already established. Now all I could do was wait for my moment to stun everyone and turn my fortunes around to rebuild a reliable reputation from scratch. At this moment, a clear voice rang out from behind, classmate, are you here to try the test questions in advance to prepare for the college entrance exam too? The speaker was a girl in a cyan practice uniform with her hair tied in a ponytail. Her face was lit up with an enthusiastic smile as she asked me, while also giving Qinghwan a slight nod in greeting. I politely replied, yes, just trying it out. Those people immediately started chattering again, look at this, look at this. This kid really is just trying it out. If you're just trying it out, why not spend your own money? Why waste this poor girl's savings? She worked so hard to save that money, and now it's all going to be squandered by him. Ah, this child really lacks judgment when it comes to people. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, telling myself not to get angry. After the assessment, everything would be explained. The girl seemed puzzled by the murmurs around her and turned to Qinghwan, who was shaking her head with suppressed laughter. She didn't ask further but gave me a few more curious glances. Moments later, she went to the payment counter and swiftly handed over a card to settle the fee. Once again, I felt the sting of blatant discrimination. After completing the payment, the girl returned to us. Song Changwan, I didn't get the chance to properly meet you at the last training camp. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Qin Ling, and my dream is to become a grand tactician like Senior Ji Qing. I hope we'll have the chance to become teammates. I'd be thrilled to serve as your strategist. Suddenly I realized something was off. Why was this girl trying to poach someone right in front of me? I reminded her, ahem, Qinghwan and I are already teammates. Qin Ling continued smiling brilliantly, sizing me up again before saying, no problem at all. I can be the frontline strategist while you command from the rear. I fell silent. Damn my weak physique, being underestimated by women again. Wordlessly, I turned my gaze to the big screen, no longer wishing to speak. Qinghwan giggled mischievously beside me, looking utterly adorable. Soon, the previous batch of examinees finished their assessments, and the seating numbers began being called out. As the sequence progressed, I realized I happened to be the 10th. Well, I remarked, that's pretty lucky timing. Before the words were even finished, I heard, Ling of Group 108, prepare for your assessment. I looked at the payment counter with confusion, and Ling apologized somewhat awkwardly, sorry, because I often come here for assessments, I signed up for VIP. I didn't mean to bump you to the next batch. Silence was destined to be the theme of the day, and I strongly despised all wealthy people. Ling walked toward the assessment room, and Sheng Huan explained to me, she's a senior student from Class 1 of Tianyuan No. 1 High School. Her father is the head coach of Tianyuan City's sky-supporting martial arts academy. Previously, Tianyuan City organized a training camp where she ranked 5th overall. Her cultivation talent is exceptional, and her martial arts foundation is very solid. However, it seems her goal has always been to become a tactician. I nodded, suddenly curious about what kind of rewards I might obtain from Ling. I asked Xing Huan, do you think she'd agree if I took her photo? Turning my head, I noticed the girl puffing her cheeks and glaring at me with fierce eyes. I quickly explained, ahem. Xing Huan, let me explain, I'm not taking her photo for her sake. I just want to photograph different people. In the future, I'll photograph different exotic creatures too. For me, photography is a form of observation. Every person I photograph helps me build a model in my mind, which I then use for tactical analysis. I don't even need to keep the photos. I wasn't sure if my explanation made sense, but Xinghuan's fierce little expression faded, replaced with hesitation as she asked, really? I immediately swore, really? I noticed an uncle beside us who had been secretly observing me and Xinghuan while shaking his head, muttering under his breath, tisk, hopeless, believing such absurd excuses? Being love-struck is truly unwise. Better get ready to eat bitter herbs. Young folks these days are getting better at spouting nonsense. I must go back and seriously warn my daughter not to be fooled by anyone. For the first time, I found this uncle more annoying than the aunties. I couldn't help but grumble in my heart, Uncle, don't you have an assessment to attend instead of standing here all day? At this moment, Xinghuan kindly explained, they're all here to study tactical approaches from others. Different people take assessments here daily, and everything is broadcast live on the big screen. Many aspiring tacticians purposely wait in the halls to observe others solving problems and learn from them. After saying this, she pinched and twisted my waist with her small hand, her eyes brimming with tears, crying, Suyu, I believe in you, you can't lie to me. Her expression was so pitiful that bystanders would gladly have taken her side and scolded me. I felt utterly defeated, assuring her repeatedly that this was genuinely one of my tactical training methods. I added, Xinghuan, think about it carefully, if I were to step onto the battlefield as a tactician in the future, besides the beasts, wouldn't my primary consideration be the people under my command? Unlike system-generated problems, where everyone behaves uniformly, in reality, each person has unique traits and habits. If I can't deeply understand them, how can I possibly become an outstanding tactician? Xinghuan thought for a moment and nodded obediently. Seizing the opportunity, I continued, especially these geniuses, their temperaments are usually quite peculiar, which makes paying close attention to their daily behavior all the more important. When you've accumulated enough mental case studies, you won't panic when facing real challenges. By the time I finished speaking, the uncles who had initially mocked me suddenly realized I actually knew what I was talking about, and they all pricked up their ears to listen attentively. I raised my camera and said to Xinghuan, if you know any other geniuses, you could introduce me to them. I'll find an opportunity to take group photos of you all. Xinghuan understood but asked in confusion, does it have to be taking photos? Pretending to be profound, I replied, Xinghuan, geniuses are all eccentric. Suddenly, someone in the hall spat out a mouthful of water, followed by widespread booing. My expression remained unchanged, while Xinghuan accepted this explanation. She said, alright then, later I'll have you take a photo of me and Ling together. Keep the photo for me. I nodded eagerly like a pecking chick, never expecting my made-up excuse would actually open up a new path for gaining supernatural abilities and skills. Even though the uncles nearby were still pointing fingers at me, I couldn't care less. Gossip and ridicule pale in comparison to improving one's strength. I glanced at the big screen, stealing a few looks at Ling, who was clearing levels, and was surprised to realize this girl seemed to be holding back. Many times, she'd already resolved the immediate challenge but deliberately tried other options, as if clearing the level wasn't the goal, learning from the ever-changing battles was the more important thing. I couldn't help but curse, damn capitalists. Xinghuan asked blankly, huh? Time ticked by. Of the group undergoing evaluations alongside Ling, only a man named Hong Kong was still persevering besides her. The man had barely scraped through the first two problems, with combat losses narrowly stuck at 19% both times. By the third question, his tension escalated. Each step was preceded by prolonged hesitation. In contrast, Ling represented the opposite extreme. The prodigy seemed to shift tactics constantly, never pausing to hesitate, every impulse immediately followed by action, one decision tumbling after another. Of course, the more decisions she made, the more mistakes occurred, and the unforeseen circumstances she encountered were as numerous as the hairs on an ox each time. She barely scraped through by a hair's breadth. As the time drew near, the murmurs in the hall gradually grew louder. Some sympathized with Hong Kong, saying his family had spent hundreds of thousands just to fund his assessment, and if he failed again this time, he would likely give up. Others scoffed, claiming his mentality wasn't up to par. Who would dare let someone with such a mindset serve as a tactician on the battlefield? The discussions about Qinling mainly revolved around tactical matters. Elsewhere in the building, the three examiners were also observing the two candidates. Two of them debated Hong Kang's lack of drive, lamenting that despite his natural talent for tactics, he would at best make a decent assistant someday. The young man beside them appeared rather disinterested. They then went on to discuss Qinling, commenting that she had made several brilliant moves today and had a good chance of success, but her reckless nature simply couldn't continue like this. At that moment, the young man spoke up. If she wanted to pass, she would have done so long ago. She's not failing, she's using these challenges to sharpen her tactical execution. The two examiners suddenly understood and praised the young man as formidable. I bet that young man was secretly cursing the damned capitalists in his heart. After all, wasting opportunities just to hone tactics like Qinling was doing. The countdown on the hall screen began its final minute. Qinling's decision to send troops along multiple routes in the last phase resulted in encounters with several small groups of mutated creatures, pushing the casualty rate beyond 20%. Some sighed in the hall, while others offered hindsight criticism. I pursed my lips, finding it all rather dull. Qinling's assessment made me realize there was no need to deliberately tackle difficult problems as she did. I could foresee most challenges before solving them, and unexpected incidents remained within manageable limits, though this might only apply to the current stage's tasks. Just as everyone was lamenting, cheers suddenly erupted in the hall. It turned out Hong Kong had passed the assessment. In the final moments, he had dared to lead his team back in the opposite direction for a counterattack. The crowd cheered, declaring that Tianyuan City was about to produce another tactician. Hong Kong and Qinling emerged from the assessment room. Qinling was the first to congratulate Hong Kong, and soon others crowded around. Even those who had previously sneered now approached enthusiastically. Only Qinghuan and I remained where we stood, expressions unmoved. Qinghuan said, "Suyu, you might have to wait a bit longer." I smiled. No rush. A good meal isn't spoiled by waiting. Since someone had passed the assessment successfully, a new round didn't begin immediately. A brief strategist badge ceremony was held in the hall, where a bronze diamond-shaped badge was pinned to Hong Kang's chest. The strategist in charge of awarding the badge stood with him for a commemorative photo. Qinghuan asked curiously, "Such a great opportunity, aren't you going to take a photo?" I shook my head and said, "I'm only interested in geniuses." Qinghuan found this quite reasonable. While waiting for Qinghuan earlier, I had taken 2 photos of people riding their bikes like little airplanes on the road, but didn't even gain a single attribute. That's when I realized the illustrated guide only rewards you if you manage to snag a genius. The brief ceremony ended, and the hall resumed calling numbers for assessments. This time, it was finally my turn, number 107, to enter the examination room. Qinling didn't leave after her evaluation and came to Song Qinghuan's side, saying, "I just heard about the concepts your classmates you mentioned, they make a lot of sense." Song Qinghuan nodded. My understanding of tactics was shaped by his tutoring. Hearing this, Qinling turned her gaze seriously toward the big screen. It was rare to see someone their age taking the evaluation, and she was curious about how she measured up among peers. Moreover, Song Qinghuan's usual icy demeanor piqued her interest in me. In the hall, aside from those eager to cozy up to the newly certified tacticians, everyone else's attention was fixed on me. Earlier, they had scoffed, calling me a pretty boy unworthy of Song Qinghuan and even rallying to defend her honor. But after hearing my tactical insights, they began to regard me with subdued expectation. Some wondered if I could clear even the first hurdle, others believed it had come down to luck. A few skeptics insisted my limited exposure to tactics would leave me floundering when faced with unfamiliar scenarios. Song Qinghuan gazed at me on the big screen, her beautiful eyes filled with trust and pride. Dawn! The bell signaling the start of the assessment rang out, and the examination hall fell silent. Suddenly, an exclamation broke the quiet. "Why is his question so difficult?" Whispers spread through the crowd. The scenario given stranded me against the coast with enemies closing in from all directions. The sea was impassable, and the 3 accessible routes were guarded by 4th grade mutated beasts, while the strongest warrior I could mobilize was only 3rd grade. Everyone felt this wasn't a task suited for a junior tactical strategist, suspecting the system had malfunctioned. Qinling's pupils contracted slightly when she saw the question. Noticing Song Qinghuan's remarkable composure, she teased, "This question is so difficult, aren't you nervous for your boyfriend?" Song Qinghuan's face flushed instantly. "He's not my boyfriend yet," she replied sheepishly. Qinling froze, and Song Qinghuan, realizing her slip, quickly waved her hands. "No need to worry about him, his tactical understanding is really impressive." But an older man nearby poured cold water on their optimism. "Little girl, the tactician certification exam isn't like schoolwork. The question your boyfriend got is the hardest I've seen in years. Consider your money wasted." Hong Kong, who had recently become a tactician, also shook his head, saying that even he would consider himself unlucky to encounter such a question. Maintaining a 20% casualty rate to clear it would take hours at best. Everyone tried solving it with their own logic, each sighing in resignation. On the screen, I began acting, first carefully assessing the situation. Nothing seemed unusual. In the proctoring room, the two examiners also doubted whether I could pass. Lu Meng, however, believed this question was just child's play for me. He even said if he had the authority for intermediate tactician assessments, he'd love to let me try. Initially, I followed the textbook method, meticulously completing reconnaissance, setting up camp, and arranging defenses. The chatter went that I attended classes seriously, but book knowledge alone wouldn't suffice. Xin Ling, though, grew more attentive. She noticed that as I made these arrangements, I simultaneously mobilized several individual units to advance with the main force, inserting them with momentum, and each unit received entirely different mission orders. After a few minutes, I officially began my operation, dividing the troops into 8 groups to scout ahead while executing different commands simultaneously. Someone in the hall speculated that I must be a multitasking psychic, their voices filled with envy. But Xin Ling shook her head, saying it was all premeditated, that I had anticipated and resolved each scenario in advance. Some found it hard to believe, but when they saw Xin Ling even using her psychic abilities to verify it, their doubts died in their throats, their shock growing even deeper. If I had relied solely on psychic powers, they could have consoled themselves, but if it was all pure foresight, then it was undeniable proof of formidable skill. Everyone turned their gaze back to the big screen, noticing that one of the 3 4th-tier beasts was pregnant. I provoked it slightly, throwing the situation into chaos, then took advantage of the confusion to lead the troops out of the wilderness seamlessly, effortlessly. The hall fell silent, because everyone knew that even if they had known beforehand about the pregnant beast, they wouldn't have been able to lead multiple squads out safely while keeping casualties low. With my approach, they might have just died faster. Chapter 14. Did he know what he had done? After I passed the assessment successfully, no new challenges appeared in the assessment room for quite some time. Meanwhile, Xin Ling kept using my method in her mind, repeatedly simulating scenarios of breaking through enemy lines with a team. Only one simulation succeeded in escaping with the team, but the casualty rate exceeded half. When the battle situation became chaotic, she could cover at most half of the 8 squads, and most times the confusion would lead to complete annihilation. Whereas during my entire breakthrough operation, I maximized the effectiveness of the few third-grade martial artists under my command, achieving nearly 0 casualties in the vast majority of scenarios by relying on them. In the hall, only Song Qinghuan appeared anxious and puzzled about my lack of a new problem, while everyone else remained stunned by my terrifyingly efficient problem-solving method. They had never witnessed anyone clearing challenges this way, and many found their years of tactical thinking fundamentally shaken. Some even imagined me as an adversary, a thought that immediately sent chills down their spines. Xin Ling emerged from her enhanced state, visibly weakened. She turned to Song Qinghuan and said, "Your boyfriend is truly remarkable." Song Qinghuan first nodded proudly, then shook her head, before asking with concern, "But it seems he's run out of problems, is that alright?" Xin Ling explained, "Solving a challenge this difficult in 8 minutes while maintaining a 10% attrition rate likely means he's already met the single problem qualification benchmark." Hearing this, Song Qinghuan's smile brightened even more. Remembering what I told her, she said to Xin Ling, "Could you wait for Suyu? I'd like him to take a group photo of us." Xin Ling had heard about my previous theory. Seeing Song Qinghuan looking around eagerly, she couldn't help but laugh. "No problem," she said, "I'd like the chance to get to know him again too. Though come to think of it," she continued, "being considered a genius by him does feel like quite an honor." As she finished speaking, Xin Ling, who had seemed somewhat discouraged earlier, flashed her sunny smile again. After that, everyone waited for this round of assessments to conclude. The enthusiastic uncles who had been so helpful earlier were all eager to introduce themselves to Song Qinghuan in advance. If it weren't for Xin Ling constantly standing by her side, those people would probably have swarmed over. What's amusing is that the uncle who previously criticized Song Qinghuan for being lovestruck and vowed to teach his daughter not to follow suit was now muttering to himself, "This girl's got great taste. If my daughter had even half her taste, it'd be like our ancestors' graves smoking with good fortune." In the proctor's room, the 2 exam invigilators were adjusting their appearance, their faces brimming with joy. One said, "Junior brother, we absolutely mustn't let such a genius be snatched away by another school. Later, you personally deliver the badge to him so he can understand how excellent our Zhibai University is." Lu Meng said with a smile, "Senior brothers, you're worrying too much. This candidate has already caught the attention of one of our Zhibai University professors in advance." "Really?" the 2 exclaimed in unison. Lu Meng added, "Yeah, though he turned it down." The 2 senior students looked utterly bewildered. At first, Zhubei University students only knew that a student from Tianyuan City had received Professor Zhu Weiyun's direct admission offer. After the news spread, everyone started investigating this student. Before anyone could uncover the full story, someone else leaked that the student had declined the direct admission invitation. Before I even left Tianyuan City, I'd already become famous at Jubei University. Later, when my information got dug up, my barely triple-digit vitality and cultivation speed slower than a turtle's extinguished all thoughts from the combat department about inviting me to join their beast hunting squads. As the only third-year tactics major student to pass with full marks, Lu Meng came to Moonlight as an exam invigilator out of curiosity, never expecting to run into me right away. After witnessing it firsthand, he came to believe the previous rumors that my flawless performance wasn't just luck. He even thought my true potential would only erupt after entering Jubei University, as the small Tianyuan city had been limiting my growth. Lu Meng rose with a smile, saying, "Let's go, senior brothers. We must present this newly minted tactician with his medal." His smile carried a touch of relief. While he still couldn't claim complete acceptance of Professor Zhu Beiyun's decision to reject him in favor of me, he had come to understand it. The two senior students beside him remained in a state of shock and hastily caught up to ask, "Did he really turn it down?" Lu Meng nodded. One senior slapped his thigh in dismay. "Such foolishness. What a fool. Didn't his teacher stop him? No way. Tomorrow I must go to Tianyuan number 8 high school and ask what on earth is going on." Lu Meng comforted with a smile. "Senior, rest assured, Professor Zhu Beiyun won't let this kid off easily." "Zhu Beiyun? You mean the newly promoted Master Zhu Beiyun?" The two were stunned again. Lu Meng nodded. "Yes, back when I first entered the school, he rejected me too." This time, the two senior alumni began murmuring, "This is outrageous. Does he know what he's rejecting? What kind of teacher is his mentor anyway?" Their joyful expressions vanished as they marched ahead angrily, seemingly eager to pull me aside for a lecture and even interrogate my tactics instructor. Right at that moment, I happened to step out of the assessment room. Chapter 15 Careless Mistake. As I exited the assessment room, the lobby wasn't bustling with noise like when Hong Kong passed his evaluation. Instead, an eerie silence prevailed. It seemed there was an insurmountable gap between a genius like me and everyone else. They didn't dare take a single step forward upon seeing me. Only Song Qinghuan and Qin Ling approached with beaming smiles. Song Qinghuan excitedly congratulated me. "Suyu, congratulations on officially becoming a tactician. Hee, I knew you could do it." Qin Ling didn't quite understand the sudden shift in Song Qinghuan's mood. Perhaps to her, this was just what love looked like. She stepped forward too and said, "Congrats. Don't forget our agreement today. Let's team up from now on. You'll back me and Qinghuan up with tactics. With your strategic planning, we'll be unstoppable." I smiled and said, "No way, I'm going to the front lines too." Just as we were chatting, the two proctors stormed over angrily, startling everyone. Some who had just been green with envy began whispering, "Look at the proctors, could Suyu have cheated on the test? Is it even possible to cheat in an evaluation?" Someone asked in confusion. The bald man said with an air of certainty, "Why not? Think about it, such difficult questions. Passing aside, do you really think the method he used was a tactic an ordinary person could employ? To me, that kid absolutely cheated. Otherwise, the proctors wouldn't be so furious. I just don't believe anyone could clear it like that." True. The more you think about it, the more off it feels. The crowd in the hall buzzed with murmurs. When the two proctors stopped in front of me, everyone fell silent. After hearing the bald man's words, many began whispering malicious guesses, eagerly waiting to see the spectacle unfold. The proctor asked, "Suyu?" I replied with perfect calm, "Yes, that's me." I even felt like asking these two elders just who had angered them. Another invigilator asked, "What's your teacher's name?" The bald man confidently replied, "See, now they're asking about the teacher. Probably going to inform the school soon, might even get expelled." Expelled? Is it that serious? How is this not serious? His cheating is practically challenging the entire Tacticians Alliance, the bald man said indignantly. In reality, the two invigilators were completely preoccupied with my rejection of the Grandmaster and didn't hear any of this. Behind them, Lu Meng was smiling knowingly. I replied, "My teacher is Chung Yong." The examiner then asked, "When you rejected North Rejection University's direct admission offer, didn't Chung Yong try to stop you?" I'm Suyu. Only after being bombarded with those rapid-fire questions did I fully grasp what had happened. Turns out, I'd refused the direct admission quota from North Rejection University's youngest tactics grandmaster, Professor Zhu Beiyun. When this news spread, it practically made the jaws of the surrounding spectators hit the floor. What? North Rejection University's direct admission? And it was a quota from a tactics grandmaster. Just how extraordinarily talented must this kid be? Old Tang is talking about the youngest tactics grandmaster. If I accepted, wouldn't that be a straight path to success? Once his mentor becomes a supreme grandmaster, how hard could it be for him to reach grandmaster status? While everyone was stunned, they looked around for the bald man who had accused me of cheating earlier, but he was nowhere to be seen. Those who had chimed in along with him kept their heads down, afraid of being singled out. Inside, I silently apologized to my homeroom teacher, then feigned shock as I explained, "No, my teacher just asked me to repeat it for a video." I had no idea Professor Zhu Beiyun was a grandmaster. If I'd known, I would never have refused. I thought it was just like any ordinary exam. I didn't want to take shortcuts. I wanted to earn my way into Jubiai University on my own merit. My words left everyone in the room silent. The two invigilators clenched their fists and shouted Chang, Young. Song Qinghuan blinked her eyes behind me, probably wondering how I was so different from her impression of me. I could only play dumb. Heaven knows I genuinely didn't realize Professor Zhu Beiyun was Blue Planet's youngest grandmaster of tactics. Had I known, I never would have agreed to repeat those words for the homeroom teacher, let alone let him record a video. Now I've gone and dug my own grave. I haven't even entered the academy yet, and I've already angered a grandmaster with limitless potential. What am I supposed to do now? Thankfully, after learning the truth, the two invigilators relaxed their expressions and even reassured me, don't worry, kid, we'll help explain things on your behalf. As for your teacher, we'll have a serious talk with him. He's gone too far this time. With that, they prepared to present me with the badge. A ceremony had already been conducted once before, and now it was being held again. When the time came to award me the badge, everyone noticed that the person pinning it on me was the young man standing behind the two proctors. Before stepping onto the stage, Lu Mengkai unhurriedly fastened a golden rhombus-shaped badge that gleamed so brightly every pair of eyes in the hall was riveted to it. Xin Ling, who had just been stunned by the direct recruitment news a second ago, now gaped open-mouthed, holy shit, that's a high-level tactician badge? There's no high-level tactician in Tianyuan City. He must be here for me. No wonder today's problems were so difficult, it turns out he specifically designed them as a test for me. Lu Mang walked up to me and whispered with a smile, it definitely wasn't as straightforward as you're making it out to be. As he spoke, he pinned a badge on me and added, I'll be waiting for you at Jubiai University. You're still too weak right now, but after a year of studying at Jubiai, we'll have a proper match. With a bitter expression, I replied, senior brother, you're half joking, half serious. Right now, I genuinely don't dare to go to Jubiai. Lu Mang burst into laughter. If you really don't come, I'll honestly admire your guts. After pinning the badge and taking a group photo, Lu Meng said his goodbyes. He also reminded the two senior alumni to record the bald man who had slandered me, ensuring that the Tactics Alliance would reject his future examination applications. In the examination hall, everyone knew I would soon have a grandmaster as my teacher, and they all desperately tried to get on my good side. After much effort, I finally broke free from the crowd and spotted Qinling still waiting for me. Suddenly, I smacked my forehead and exclaimed, damn it! I completely forgot to take a photo of Lu Meng. Both Qin Ling and Song Qinghuan looked utterly confused. It was then I remembered my peculiar habit of photographing everyone, regardless of gender. I felt like I had missed out on a goldmine and even wondered if Lu Meng had done it on purpose. With a deep sigh, I reminded myself that there's always someone greater beyond the horizon. Then, full of anticipation, I said to the two girls, let's go take a photo under the statue of Grandmaster Ji Qing outside. Xin Ling tugged at Song Qinghuan from behind and whispered, are you sure Suyu will give us the photos later? Song Qinghuan frowned and said, Suyu isn't that kind of person. Xin Ling let out a long sigh, probably thinking we were all being unreasonable. Once outside, I deftly aimed the camera at them, and a system prompt appeared. Target detected with an A-ranked ability, Ultimate Analysis. Host has a high probability of obtaining a low-dimensional attribute, a slight chance of acquiring a skill, a small chance of gaining a high-dimensional attribute, and a minimal probability of inheriting the ability. An A-ranked ability, my finger paused on the shutter button. All day, the highest-ranked abilities I'd captured from random photos on the street had been C-ranked at best. Finally, I'd encountered someone beyond B-rank. Ultimate Analysis, no wonder Qinling wants to be a tactical analyst. This skill could help me too, if I can acquire it. I'll keep it, I thought to myself as I pressed the shutter. With a click, I fell silent. Today's luck must have all been spent on Dad, I got nothing. Refusing to accept defeat, I pressed the shutter again. Congratulations, host, obtained +10 agility. A smile returned to my face. I didn't keep shooting. After giving them the photos, I put the camera away. I still wanted to test my skills against exotic beasts in the wilderness today, so I needed to save a couple of shots. Besides, taking too many photos right after meeting them might give the wrong impression, not good for sustainable development. Unexpectedly, the photos turned out quite decent, and they were pleased. Xin Ling said, Suyu, your photography skills are excellent. Can I ask for your help in the future if I need photos taken? I was taken aback. I hadn't expected her to come to me first. Xin Ling probably didn't even know why she'd said it herself. Maybe she thought I was an outstanding tactician and wanted to learn from me. Song Qinghuan also chimed in from the side, and me. Don't forget me. I held up 5 fingers and said, 5 yuan per photo, honest prices for all. Song Qinghuan started counting on her fingers, so I'd owe you dozens of yuan then? No. Actually, I owe you tens of thousands. Song Qinghuan's eyes lit up as she planted her hands on her hips. Then you'll have to listen to me. Next mock exam you can't leave everything blank, or I'll make you pay me back. Seeing our flirtatious banter, Xin Ling quietly excused herself first. After the assessment, I headed straight to the weapons shop. It wasn't until we reached the entrance that Song Qinghwan, who had been following me all along, finally realized, Suyu, are you planning to buy a weapon? Yeah, I'm planning to buy a dagger. Just as I said that, Song Qinghwan pulled out an elegant dagger from her waist. Here, it's yours. I took it and saw it was a finely crafted iron dagger with the artisan's name engraved, worth at least tens of thousands on the market. I said, I can't accept this. I already owe you tens of thousands. I handed the dagger back. Song Qinghwan shook her head. I told you it's a gift. Besides, I don't like this dagger, it's too dark and ugly. With that, she pulled out another dagger from the left side of her waist, this one gleaming with a cold silvery light. I was at a complete loss for words. Song Qinghwan explained, this sword was the third place reward from the training camp 2 sessions ago. The one I'm giving you is from the last training session, both are free, and I don't need 2 of them anyway. As someone who didn't even qualify for the subsequent training camp, I could only tearfully accept the gift from rich Lady Qinghwan. Then I was about to head into the wilderness when Song Qinghwan stopped me. You bought that dagger planning to go to the wastelands? Yeah, it's not like I'd need it in the city. By the way, why have you been following me this whole time? I turned cold the moment I accepted the gift. Song Qinghwan responded with righteous indignation. The homeroom teacher asked me to keep an eye on you. The homeroom teacher told Song Qinghwan to keep an eye on me, worried that I might lose my mind and rush into the wilderness to die. I thought to myself, this teacher really knows me well. I parked my bike and asked with a defeated expression, so, now I can only go home, right? But Song Qinghwan said, no, you can go. You just have to let me come with you. With me around, a D-level zone isn't a problem. Her words surprised me, and I immediately replied, alright, let's head out now. Hesitating for even a second would be disrespectful to such a beautiful bodyguard. We rode our bikes like the wind to the dozens of meters high city wall, where soldiers were registering entries and exits at the Iron Gate. Song Qinghwan led the way with ease, while I, being my first time leaving the city for the wilderness, had to go through a series of system registrations, setting up emergency contacts and emergency response times before being allowed to exit. Perhaps noticing the diamond-shaped badge pinned on my left chest, the man at the registration desk added an extra warning. Even though it's just a D-class zone, rank 1 exotic beasts might appear near the borders. Don't get too close to the boundary. I obediently replied, got it, thanks for the heads up, big bro. The registrar nodded and let me pass. Song Qinghwan was already waiting beyond the checkpoint. Seeing my well-behaved student act, she shook her head disapprovingly, probably thinking that despite the man's warning, I'd head straight for the border the moment I entered. Successfully exiting the city filled me with excitement. Song Qinghwan hurriedly laid down 3 ground rules. First, you can only engage when I deem it safe. Second, you must not stray more than 5 meters away from me. Third, if danger arises, you must follow my commands without question. Her expression was deadly serious, her tone brooking no argument, before adding, otherwise, I'll knock you out on the spot and drag you back. I believe in her abilities, so I said, alright, don't worry, I just want to experience the wilderness firsthand. If I encounter any exotic beasts, I'll obediently hide behind you. I'll just take a few photos and study how they differ from the descriptions in textbooks. Seeing she was still skeptical, I added, relax, I may act recklessly sometimes, but I'm scared of pain and death. I won't throw my life away. That finally made her somewhat convinced. I sighed helplessly. There was no helping it, my troublemaker persona was too deeply ingrained to change overnight. But if it weren't for my past antics, I probably wouldn't have been granted special admission to Class 7 or assigned to Coach Song Qinghwan in tactics. To the teachers and students of Tianyun No. 8 High, I'm practically lawless, even daring to slash the principal's tires. I was already racking my brain over how to shake off this reputation when a passerby chimed in. Look at this kid, so young and already afraid of his girlfriend. He's definitely gonna be henpecked in the future. What's wrong with being henpecked? Have you seen how pretty his girlfriend is? From where I stand, being henpecked is just fine, at least he has a girlfriend, unlike you, single for 30 years with nobody to boss you around. What nonsense are you spouting? It's not that nobody bosses me around, I just don't want to be tied down by romance. Song Qinghwan's face flushed as she glanced around nervously. Once again, I felt a mental facepalm, first dubbed a pretty boy, now branded as henpecked. I quickly urged, let's go, let's go. I can't wait any longer. Led by Song Qinghwan, we gradually moved away from the city walls. Looking back, everything was shrouded in a dull gray. Standing in the wilderness, I felt only the immense pressure brought by that gray haze, making every breath a struggle. I can't help but wonder how difficult it must have been for our ancestors when they first faced the invasion of foreign races. Back then, the entire blue planet was blanketed in gloom, with no sight of the sun, no distinction between day and night. How much blood must they have shed to reclaim living cities for humanity, ensuring that future generations could bask in sunlight once more? With this thought, my restless nature settled somewhat, and Song Qinghwan seemed relieved noticing this change. We wandered aimlessly through the wilderness, where towering trees had sprouted from the remnants of skyscrapers, and the remnants of buildings stood as silent reminders that this was once a place where humans lived. The stark contrast struck me deeply. Looking up at the gloomy sky and gray leaves, I asked Song Ching-won, "Do you think one day this place will return to having blue skies and white clouds? I've seen its blue skies and white clouds in my dreams, truly beautiful." After saying this, I stepped forward to examine the marks on the tree. Song Ching-won watched my back silhouette, probably thinking I was different from other peers. When the training camp instructors first took them into the wilderness, some were afraid, others excited, but none like me, simultaneously exuding melancholy and brimming with hope. This complex feeling made her want to understand me better. Turning around, I said, "A mutant beast passed through here recently." Song Ching-won appeared beside me in a flash and responded, "Yes, these are claw marks from a pale grass yellow-eyed rabbit." I nodded and said, "They went southwest, probably foraging." She asked, "Do you want to follow them?" I replied, "Since we're already in the wilderness, it would be a waste not to see some exotic beasts." She warned me, "Then don't stray more than 3 meters from me later. The meadow yellow-eyed rabbits love attacking people's necks. If you act recklessly, I will knock you out for real." Truth be told, in her eyes these rabbits were hardly different from ordinary ones, but to be safe she deliberately exaggerated the danger. Following the tracks, we soon located the meadow yellow-eyed rabbits. In theory, I had no real weaknesses, and her combat prowess was absolutely overwhelming. We communicated with gestures, and after quietly leaping along tree trunks, I finally saw a live mutated beast. The rabbit bared fangs like a saber-toothed tiger, its claws 10 to 20 centimeters long, its dull yellow eyes filled with ferocity. With its over a meter-long body, I found it hard to connect it with the rabbits from my past life. My interest was instantly piqued. "I want to give it a try, you watch my back," I said, before darting forward in a flash. Song Ching-won's left hand nearly shot up, likely as she reassured herself, "This counts as giving fair warning. It doesn't break what we agreed on earlier." Seeing my swift speed and the agility I demonstrated along the way, Song Ching-won probably guessed that I wasn't as powerless as everyone thought, and that I might be hiding some of my true strength. Yet the blue tint in her eyes never faded as she fixed her gaze on the battlefield, ready to freeze that rabbit at any moment. Using an SSS-class supernatural ability to kill an ungraded little rabbit, now that was sheer audacity. Fortunately, I didn't give her the chance to unleash her ultimate move. With 2 clanging sounds, I accurately blocked the yellow-eyed rabbit's counterattack with my dagger. Bending low and pivoting, my blade soon glistened with blood as I slit its throat, then kicked its body flying 10 meters away. The entire sequence took mere seconds. Song Ching-won on the tree branch was stunned wide-eyed. She was probably thinking, if I got close enough for a sudden sneak attack with my current demonstrated abilities, her life might genuinely be in danger. She realized that in pure dagger techniques, she was no match for me, every strike precise and lethal, my footwork impeccable. In her mind, only the perennial top performer from training camp could rival me in blade skills. After dealing with the Asakusa yellow-eyed rabbit, I calmly took out my camera and said, "The book was right, the Asakusa yellow-eyed rabbit's attack always follows a forward leap. Lu Chou, Ping Si, Xia Wei, and I went to challenge a first-tier star-spotted frog." Lu Chou took the lead. I approached Song Ching-won and said to her, "Ching-won, if there's a chance later, could you let me land the final blow on the star-spotted frog? I want to try killing a first-tier anomaly myself." Song Ching-won nodded without hesitation and said she'd freeze it so I could deliver the finishing strike. As we were arranging the frog's demise, the other 4 couldn't help but mutter inwardly, this didn't feel like a cross-tier anomaly challenge at all. The whole vibe was off. Before they could dwell on it, the moment we stepped into the star-spotted frog's territory, deafening croaks erupted all around us, so loud it felt like they'd pierce our eardrums. Thick tongues as wide as dozens of centimeters, glowing with starry phosphorescence, came rushing toward us. This luminescence carried venom. Contact with it would reduce a person to a puddle of putrid liquid within half an hour if left untreated. Fortunately, in the years since the alien invasion, antidotes for the starlight poison had become almost universally available, carried by nearly everyone. Lu Chou charged ahead in the lead. His upper garments instantly burst apart as his torso swelled and gradually took on an ashen, earthen hue. Watching his bulging muscles, I couldn't help but think, in my past life, people would have surely accused him of steroid use. Just as Lu Chou blocked the first wave of attacks, Pang Si and Xia Wei launched their assault on the 3-meter-long first-class starlight frog. 3 large nets and 3 long arrows shot toward it simultaneously. The battle began as Song Ching-won drew a silver baton from her waist. With a flick of her wrist, the baton extended segment by segment, its tip unfolding into a spearhead. In the blink of an eye, she charged forward clad in white, silver spear in hand. I couldn't help but admire from my heart. So cool. Her feet tapped lightly atop star-spotted frogs as she advanced, effortlessly cutting down 2 of them along the way. Then her silver spear collided with that grotesque, trunk-sized tongue, and icy blue glint flashed in her eyes as a chilling cold radiated from the spear. Instantly, the first-grade star-spotted frog's tongue froze solid, the frost creeping relentlessly toward its entire body. Song Ching-won held nothing back, thrusting her spear in rapid succession. With each precise strike, another patch of the star-spotted frog's body froze into immovable ice. Seeing the timing was about right, Song Qinghwan glanced back at me. I immediately understood her intention, severed a tongue with my dagger, and launched it toward the first-grade star-dot frog. As the tongue flew, so did my blade. The dagger slid around the star-dot frog's neck in one smooth motion, and instantly its ugly head rolled to the ground. Meanwhile, the four who hadn't even finished 10 ordinary star-dot frogs yet were dumbfounded. Someone murmured, "That was way too easy." With the first-grade star-dot frog dealt with, I pulled out a camera from my chest pocket. Noticing several frogs remained, Song Qinghwan flashed past, streaks of silver light flickering, before the remaining star-dot frogs fell silent. Peng Si and the other three stared dumbly at Song Qinghwan in her white robes, spear in hand and utterly composed. They had thought giving up 50% of the loot and battle contribution was them taking a loss, but now it was clear they were just extras in this fight. Against this first-grade aberrant beast, Song Qinghwan alone would have been enough. Song Qinghwan put away her spear and smiled faintly at the four. This star-spotted toad had just broken through, which is why I could handle it so easily. If it had more time to consolidate its advancement, I'd have had a much tougher time dealing with it. The four of them nodded numbly. I had long been aware of Song Qinghwan's capabilities, so I simply turned my lens toward the one-star-spotted frog and clicked. The last roll of film for the day was spent. At this moment, the system notified me, "Congratulations, host, for recording the illustrated handbook entry, Starry Toad, Grade 1 Extraordinary Beast, ... Reward obtained, Shi and Blood plus 10, fixed reward, Strength attribute plus 100. Total recorded beast catalog, 2/10. Host, would you like to claim the reward now?" Suppressing the exhilaration from the 100 plus attribute boost, I calmly replied in my mind, "Not now." Gaining 10 points of vitality in one breath would cause noticeable changes in my energy flow, and mastering the 1/3 strength increase would also take time. It's not the right moment to claim it now. After taking photos, I called the others over to clean up the scene. Soon, everyone divided the spoils and cleared away the bodies. Whether it was Song Qinghwan's terrifying strength or the four of them rushing back to school to submit homework, there wasn't much conversation before we all went our separate ways. Peng Si and the other three hurried forward along the return route map. Lucio said without understanding, "Hey Peng Si, since we encountered such geniuses, shouldn't we invite them to our school on behalf of the university?" The teacher specifically mentioned this during the break. His words earned him looks as if he'd lost his mind from the other three. Someone said, "Do you really think with Song Qinghwan's abilities, she would want to come to our school, and even if she did, would our school dare to accept her? If our school dares to accept him, would the other schools agree?" Lucio flushed red, stiffening his neck as he argued. "Then Suyu could also qualify, I think he'd be quite suitable for our school." This time, no one said much. Based on my earlier performance, my actual combat skills were undoubtedly within their school's admission standards. Plus, being such a young tactician was a huge bonus. Peng Si pondered for a moment before murmuring, "You might not believe me, but I sensed an aura of supernatural ability from Suyu too, and it felt roughly the same type as Song Qinghwan's. Even if there's a slight difference, it wouldn't be by much." As his words faded, Lucio fell silent as well. Everyone kept their heads down, hurrying forward. The four of them had been thoroughly humbled by this venture into the wilderness, and even the joy of completing their final assignment had dimmed. I looked at my personal contribution stats showing participation in killing a first-grade mutated beast, and the corners of my mouth curled up. At the same time, I had also gained access to the Class C zone. I tapped my wristband and grinned at my personal panel. Song Qinghwan drifted over quietly beside me and said, "Don't even think about entering the Class C zone. If you dare run in that direction, I'll knock you out for sure." The smile on my face froze instantly, and I quickly patted my chest in assurance. How could I possibly be stupid enough to enter the Class C zone? "Classmate Song Qinghwan, you can rest easy, I won't set foot in the Class C zone until I become a martial artist." Song Qinghwan let out a derisive heh, clearly unconvinced. She asked, "Still want to continue?" I shook my head and replied, "I told you I know my limits. We've already participated in killing a first-grade mutated beast today, it's time to head back." Song Qinghwan finally nodded in satisfaction. We pulled up the map from our wristbands and hurried back. On the way, I asked curiously, "Qinghwan, where did you buy that lance of yours?" Song Qinghwan replied somewhat apologetically, "Suyu, I can't give this to you right now." Black lines formed on my forehead. What was she implying? Making it sound like I was only asking to take it? I quickly clarified, "That's not what I meant. I just thought you looked really cool wielding that lance." A faint blush colored Song Qinghwan's cheeks as she asked, "Really?" I nodded, She continued, "The lance was a reward from the principal for ranking in the city's top 3 for 5 consecutive unified exams." I fell silent and trudged onward with my head down. Sigh, I had never even ranked in the school's top 100, let alone tampered with the principal's tires. Best to abandon any foolish notions about this long-range artillery nonsense sooner rather than later. It took nearly an hour, and along the way we encountered a pale grasshair with yellow eyes. Song Ching-won dispatched it effortlessly. When we exited the wilderness for inspection, the soldier checking my documents gave me a second glance after noticing participated in slaying a first-grade aberrant beast listed on my personal information. As Song Ching-won and I walked away, another soldier approached and asked, "Boss, this Suyu guy is pretty impressive, huh?" An 18-year-old low-rank tactician with the capability to participate in killing a first-tier mutated beast. What do you think? Shall we consider recruiting him into our Northwest Military District? The leader shook his head and replied, "Let's not rush. Observe him first. You should know that the girl who entered the wasteland with him is named Song Ching-hwan, one of Tianyuan City's top protégés under special attention recently. It's said that during the last training camp, several of Tianyuan City's talented trainees worked together in Zone C to take down a third-tier mutated beast." The surrounding soldiers gasped in shock as the leading man nodded and said, "So we still don't know if it's Suyu's own ability. They'll probably come again tomorrow. Send someone to follow them then. If he truly has the skill, we can't afford to miss out on such a genius." Word is that even the higher-ups are fighting over Song Ching-hwan. If we manage to recruit Suyu, given their relationship, he might just be our bargaining chip. The leader added, "But none of that matters. What's most important is whether Suyu truly has that strength. Otherwise, recruiting him would only harm the kid." One soldier replied, "Understood, boss. I'll tell them tomorrow." Chapter 21 Gossip. A certain young lady escorted me all the way home. The moment I sat down in the living room, several uncles and aunties from the neighborhood ganged up to interrogate me. "Alright, confess. Where did you go after completing the tactician assessment today?" What happened during my assessment in the main hall had already spread like wildfire across Tianyuan City. The news that Tianyuan City had produced a genius who was about to be taken as a disciple by a tactics grandmaster made many people remark that it was finally Tianyuan City's turn to have exceptional talents emerging in recent years. When the aunties and uncles in the neighborhood found out, they immediately went to the market, slaughtered a pig, and brought wine to my house to celebrate with me. They had expected me to come home right after the assessment with good news, but instead, they waited until it was almost dark before I returned. Not only that, they saw that beautiful girl accompanying me all the way to our neighborhood and only leaving after I went upstairs. At that moment, their inner gossip flames ignited completely. Facing Aunt Wu's glowing mechanical pupils, I was utterly speechless. Was this really necessary? It wasn't like she was interrogating a criminal, yet she deliberately turned up the brightness. She always used this trick to scare the kids upstairs. How could I not know? We went to the wilderness after the assessment, I confessed before they could press further. Our homeroom teacher was worried I'd do something reckless out there, so she asked Ching-hwan to keep an eye on me. Today when we went to the wilderness, she was mainly keeping an eye on me to prevent me from seeking death. The small house was packed with at least 3 layers of people. When some uncle remarked, "Your homeroom teacher really knows you well," I immediately lost all willingness to cooperate. They asked a few more curious questions before finally letting me go. From the conversation, I learned that while I was killing mutated beasts in the wilderness, they had all gone to investigate Song Ching-hwan's neighborhood and probably knew more about the situation than I did. "Tisk, Xiaosuyu, you'd better work hard. Ching-hwan's mother already said it. She's not against you two being together, but she's afraid Ching-hwan might end up like her mother, living as a widow while her husband's still alive." My head is full of question marks. What are they talking about? So they not only went to investigate in the neighborhood but also went to Song Ching-hwan's house? What does living like a widow mean? Do they really look down on me that much? On the other side, Song Ching-hwan's house was also crowded with people. Faced with the questions from those uncles and aunties, her little face stayed flushed, while her mother watched with a smile. While the entire Tianyuan city was gossiping about Song Ching-hwan and me, one person was undoubtedly heartbroken. In Zhang Shijing's home, the sound of fists pounding on the punching bag grew louder and louder. His father listened outside the door and said to his wife, "Don't worry, everyone goes through heartbreak when they're young. Let him process it on his own." His mother nodded and whispered, "I saw photos of those 2 kids in the group chat today, and I have to say, they make such a perfect match, him so talented and her so beautiful." Thud, thud, thud. Zhang Shijing's punches against the sandbag grew even more forceful. After helping a few drunk uncles and aunts get home, I could finally rest in bed. With my eyes closed, a heartfelt smile spread across my face. Though this world is fraught with dangers everywhere, the warmth these uncles and aunts have brought me is something I'd never experienced before. Thinking of this, I rubbed my face and got up to claim my system rewards. With my eyes closed, I concentrated deeply before throwing a punch. Both speed and power had noticeably improved. The attribute bonus and chi blood enhancement don't seem to overlap. That means the full potential of my strength and chi blood hasn't been fully realized yet in boosting all aspects of my physical abilities. I hung up a punching bag and delivered a forceful strike with unprecedented impact, something I'd never achieved before. Not wanting to waste any opportunity for improvement, I immediately began circulating my chi blood in my room while practicing body tempering technique. In this era of martial arts, children are taught two fundamental techniques as soon as they're old enough to understand, a breathing method to commune with heaven and earth while channeling chi blood, and the body tempering technique to lay the foundation for enhancing chi blood through breathing method while transforming boosted chi blood into strengthened physical attributes. These two techniques complemented each other perfectly. By pushing the human body's potential to its first limit, one could break through the initial shackles to become a martial artist, after which new techniques would become available for further advancement. Previously, my cultivation of breathing techniques and body refining methods had shown minimal results, so this past week I'd been untangling my chaotic memories. Right now, as I practice the body refining method while circulating my vital energy and performing these peculiar movements, my arms, calves, thighs, and joints keep emitting crackling sounds like firecrackers exploding. In less than 10 minutes, I was drenched in sweat, my clothes completely soaked through. Every movement required gritted teeth to endure, yet my eyes grew brighter and more intense with each passing moment. At last, I could feel genuine progress from practicing the body refining method. In my childhood memories, cultivating this technique had been as uneventful as doing morning calisthenics, completely devoid of any reaction. The more I trained, the more energized I became, and the explosive crackling sounds from my body grew increasingly louder. Outside, Dad heard the commotion in my room and sighed, "Ah, if only I could get you more blood crystals, son." Early the next morning, while still half asleep, I heard a noisy chatter in the living room. Getting up and pushing open the door, I saw Song Qinghuan warmly surrounded by Aunt Wu and the others. Her face was flushed red as she responded shyly yet politely to each auntie's concern. "Qinghuan, don't judge our Suyu too harshly in his current state. It's not entirely his fault, he's carried this hidden ailment since his mother's womb. Given the chance to recover, he wouldn't drag you down much," they said. I leaned against the doorframe, originally intending to watch Song Qinghuan become the butt of the joke, but as I listened, I realized the joke was actually on me. Seeing that Aunt Wu was about to spill all my childhood embarrassments, like what age I wet the bed or wore split pants into the women's restroom, I quickly cleared my throat. "Ahem, Qinghuan, what brings you here?" Song Qinghuan stood up so fast it was like she'd spotted a savior. Just then, Dad emerged from the kitchen carrying noodles. Come on, let's eat breakfast first." Once again, my face was full of question marks, since when could my dad cook? Chapter 22, First Display of My Abilities. I broke through the encirclement with Song Qinghuan, riding my bicycle out of the neighborhood under the amused smiles of middle-aged onlookers. "By the way, why did you come to see me so early?" I asked curiously. Song Qinghuan replied matter-of-factly, "I knew you'd definitely go to the wilderness today, so I had to come early to keep an eye on you." "Are you really that obedient to the teacher?" I continued asking. She thought seriously for a moment. "Not entirely, I'm also worried you'll do something reckless in the wilderness. You're my best friend." I didn't pursue that topic further and changed the subject. "So, now that you've come once today, you won't dare to come again, will you?" Song Qinghuan immediately shook her head. "Not at all, I think your uncle and aunt are very warm. Although I didn't know how to answer many of their questions, I really like them." As she spoke, she added, "My mom even asked me last night when you're coming to visit our home." My pedaling noticeably faltered for a moment. "When there's time, when you have time, take me there." "No good, my progress is still too slow. Getting told I'm not good enough by Aunt Wu and others at home is one thing, but I can't let Uncle and Auntie at Song Qinghuan's place say the same." My desire to improve my abilities grew even stronger. The two of them came effortlessly before the steel gate. At the checkpoint, a square-faced soldier approached me. "Hello, Suyu, I'm Corporal Yang Kai from the Northwest Sky Wolf Corps. Do you mind if I follow behind you today?" I was momentarily taken aback. Glancing at Song Qinghuan, who nodded, I replied, "No problem." Yang Kai smiled and said to me, "Don't worry, I'll keep my distance and won't disturb you." Only after Song Qinghuan and I had ventured dozens of meters into the wilderness did he begin to follow at a slow pace. I asked Song Qinghuan, "What's this all about?" She explained, "Whenever any major war zone discovers a promising newcomer but isn't entirely certain, they'll follow and observe for a while. It must be your combat record from yesterday's solo kill of a first-rank exotic beast that caught their attention. Today, they probably want a closer assessment. Many elites get followed during their first wilderness expedition, both to evaluate their true capability and to provide necessary protection." Curious, I asked, "Did you experience this before?" She shook her head. "No, our training camp instructors wouldn't allow it, worried they'd poach talent." I fell silent at that. She added, "Suyu, you might want to showcase more of your abilities today. Even if you don't join the Northwest Sky Wolf Military Academy, there could be significant perks. For example, if they truly take notice, Beijian University might start feeling the pressure." A mischievous glint flickered in her eyes as she spoke. I paused, realizing for the first time that this girl had a subtly wicked side to her. We exchanged a glance, understanding dawning in our hearts. Under Corporal Yang Kai's continuous observation, I demonstrated impeccable theoretical knowledge. Every minute detail became evidence for judging the condition of the aberrant creatures. During actual combat, my distinctly military close-quarters combat skills and proficient dagger techniques earned Yang Kai's newfound respect. Though puzzled by my habit of photographing every aberrant creature I killed, he had already formed a preliminary judgment about me. After receiving synchronized updates, the checkpoint sergeant major immediately relayed the information to the admissions office of Northwest Sirius Military Academy. My combat skills were proven, my theoretical knowledge formidable. By 18, I'd already passed the junior tactician certification. Even if my cultivation talent is somewhat lacking, with enough resources to nurture me into a third-rank martial artist, or even to break through to higher levels, I would undoubtedly qualify as the core member of an elite beast hunting team. Add to that my special connection with Song Ching-hwan. Before long, the admissions office sent back word, we must do everything to recruit Suyu to Northwest Sky Wolf Military Academy. The sooner the better. 3 exclamation marks were enough proof of how highly they valued me. In the wilderness, I stopped after killing more than 10 beasts. The system notification appeared. Beast Bestiary progress updated, November 10th. Reward available for claim. As the first completed system task, I couldn't wait to go home and see what the reward was. Not only that, but there were also 10 chi points, 60 agility points, and 20 strength points waiting to be claimed. If not for the field guide's entry limitations, I would have gladly set up camp in this wilderness. I said to Song Ching-hwan, let's go, time to head back. The homeroom teacher is organizing another trip tomorrow, we should save some energy. She nodded, and we pulled up the map to begin our return journey. Throughout our return trip, she kept glancing at me. Truth be told, when she had me showcase my abilities before Yang Kai, she'd also wanted to gauge exactly how much strength I'd been hiding. After observing for a day, she had formed a rough judgment in her mind. Even excluding liberal arts scores, my combat performance alone could barely rank me within the top 100 of Tianyuan City. If I could enhance my chi and blood sufficiently through the blood crystals, breaking into the top 30 wasn't impossible either. Lost in thought, we exited the wilderness. At the checkpoint, a master sergeant walked over with a smile and introduced himself. Suyu, let's make it official. Master Sergeant Jing Yao, first class of the Northwestern Sky Wolf Military District. I extended my right hand and said, hello, Officer Jing. He replied, no need for such formality, just call me Brother Jing. Would you be interested in considering joining our Northwestern Sky Wolf Military Academy? I can assure you that whatever resource allocations the 4 major academies promise you, our Northwestern Sky Wolf Military Academy can match. Moreover, by the end of your sophomore year, we will form an elite beast hunting squad around you to venture into the wilderness. When you finish your junior year, you can directly join the frontline corps as an officer, commanding at least a battalion. These benefits he mentioned truly appealed to me. What I need most is to kill exotic beasts to harvest chi and blood, and the military academy perfectly fits my needs. Seeing me seriously considering the offer, Jing Yao understood I wouldn't be able to give an answer right away and smiled, saying, no need to rush your reply, take your time to think it over. There's no hurry. I replied earnestly, alright, thank you, Brother Jing. I'll consider it carefully. After exchanging contact details, Song Ching-hwan and I left. Yang Kai asked Jing Yao in confusion, Big brother, Suyu was tempted just now. Why didn't we push harder? Jing Yao shook his head and replied, it's natural for young people to feel tempted when they first hear about it. Just because we want him to join doesn't mean we should trick him into joining. Military Academy and the 4 major institutes are completely different choices that require careful consideration. Even if he had agreed on the spot, we couldn't have made any substantive commitments. It's better to leave a good impression rather than push unnecessarily. On the way back, Song Ching-hwan asked me curiously, are you tempted? Actually, what they promised you, the 4 major academies could offer the same. If you study tactics under Professor Zhu Beiyun, you might even enter the highest decision-making department of the human faction right after graduation. I nodded with a smile and said, actually, those resource promises aren't what tempt me. What really excites me is the chance to enter the wilderness early and the opportunity to step onto the barren battlefield ahead of time. She looked at me and said, it seems like you really want to wipe out all the aberrant beasts and alien races. I chuckled and countered, don't you? Then she realized, that's every human's dream. She saw me off at the neighborhood entrance once again. This time, Aunt Wu and Uncle Li weren't watching from upstairs but were waiting right at the gate. Aunt Wu enthusiastically invited Song Ching-hwan, oh, Suyu's back, and Ching-hwan too. Ching-hwan, why don't you come up for a while? You've just been out in the wilderness today, maybe rest a bit before heading home? Let me tell you, your aunt here studied at New Oriental, why not stay for dinner today? Just as Song Ching-hwan was about to say her mother was expecting her back for dinner, Aunt Wu whipped out her phone. Ching-hwan, your mom says it's fine. She won't cook for you tonight, but she wants you home early. Between you and me, we should have invited your mom over too. What's the point of cooking? It's just a 10-minute bike ride. With that, she practically pushed Ching-hwan upstairs. She looked at me with a face full of confusion, so I shrugged and gestured for her to witness my aunt's formidable skills. The atmosphere at the dinner table that evening felt oddly tense. After the meal, Song Qinghwan carried a large pile of food downstairs, while I followed behind carrying even more. I asked in bewilderment, "Why do you even need to take the pickled radishes home? Can't they just be bought from the shop at our doorstep?" She smiled shyly in response. She saw me home, and later that night I escorted her back. As we approached her neighborhood, I abruptly stopped my bicycle, fastened all the bags to the rear rack, and admitted nervously, "I'd better not go any further. I'm afraid I won't be able to come back tonight. I need to sleep early because tomorrow I have to go into the wilderness. My name is Su Yu." When I parted ways with Song Qinghwan today, her big, blinking eyes trying to hold back laughter looked adorable. First, she nodded for me to hurry back, then pretended to be stern by telling me not to wander off after getting home, saying she'd confirm with my dad. I gave a helpless sigh and asked when she had added my dad as a contact. She actually said she'd done it this morning. After parting with her, I immediately headed home and sent her a video as proof. She replied with okay and even sent a voice message reminding me to rest early. My father, Su Jun, kept clicking his tongue beside me, complaining about how it was too early for real-time reporting in a relationship and saying I hadn't learned his skills. Pfft. What skills could he possibly have when he even reports playing games to my mom? I completely ignored him and went back to my room. Once in my room, I calmed myself down and summoned the system. "Claim reward," I shouted. The system notified me that I had completed my 10 out of 10 odd creature collection, earning the title of Novice Collector, plus a +1 boost to cultivation talent level, with a running total of 11 out of 100 odd creatures logged in the compendium. This news was so exciting that I jumped up immediately, only to smack my head against the ceiling since I misjudged the force. My dad yelled at me outside the room for wrecking the house, but I ignored him and proceeded to claim today's rewards for logging entries into the compendium. After another boost in vital energy, I could feel my aura becoming even more intense, with my clenched fists crackling audibly. Without hesitation, I immediately began practicing the body tempering technique while my energy was heightened. 3 hours later, I collapsed exhausted on the ground. Gasping for breath, I summoned my personal stats panel and saw that my talent had risen from F to E, gaining 2 low-tier titles. My strength and agility attributes had also increased significantly due to the vital energy enhancement. The tangible data reflecting my improved strength thrilled me, but the moment I remembered Song Qinghwan's displayed prowess, I calmed down instantly. I was still far from becoming the National College Entrance Exam champion, and hadn't even closed the gap with Tianyuan City's top contender yet. After a shower, I sat cross-legged and resumed breathing exercises after several days. The truth proved that whether my talent was F or E, I remained hopeless at cultivation, still barely sensing any increase in vital energy. But after a long sigh, I still meditated cross-legged for over an hour. Though I still feel like a worthless talent, there's at least some improvement. Who knows? Maybe one day my cultivation aptitude will rise to SSS rank, and all this hardship will become the foundation for my soaring success. Comforting myself in this way, I gradually calmed down. Early the next morning, I couldn't understand why Song Qinghwan came to my house to wait for me before school. Don't romance novels always have the guy waiting downstairs at the girl's home? The moment she saw me, her face lit up with joy as she asked if my vitality had increased again. I nodded and said it was probably due to the blood crystals. Her eyes sparkled as she exclaimed that this was also a manifestation of talent. Seeing her happier than I was, I couldn't bear to tell her that a single blood crystal only gave me 15 points of vitality. How embarrassing. When I arrived at Class 7, Grade 3 of Tianyuan No. 8 High School, Lu Long came rushing over to me with a mysterious air, saying he had a surprise. I glanced at him and asked if his chi blood had improved. He nodded vigorously, saying it had increased by 5 points. His dad had spent over $1 million to buy a chi blood pill, finally pushing his chi blood past the 130 mark. He even thumped his chest, declaring he'd protect me in the wasteland today and that I should stick close behind him. I nodded and said I was entrusting my very life to him. He instinctively glanced at Song Qinghwan and, seeing she didn't stop me, wrote a note asking if I'd managed to win the school bell. I glanced at Song Qinghwan, who gave me a gentle smile. I tucked the note away as Lu Long gave me a thumbs up. The classroom buzzed with excitement about today's wilderness trip, noisy as a vegetable market. Chun Yang walked in holding his thermos, scanned the room, and silence fell instantly. He stared at me from the podium with a gaze as piercing as death itself. He wasn't surprised that I passed the junior tactician exam, but what I said in front of those old men had landed him in hot water. Yesterday he was summoned to the Tianyuan City Tactician Alliance for an all-day criticism session, and today, the moment he stepped into school, the principal dragged him into the office for another lecture. Facing his glare, I put on my most innocent expression. Suddenly, he let out a cold chuckle, and the entire class fell silent. The next second, his expression returned to normal, even encouraging me to stay true to myself and not hold back just because I was going to university. His gaze turned almost kindly, which oddly made my skin crawl even more. I asked Song Qinghwan if I should take a leave of absence. She said the teacher wouldn't do me any harm, Soon, all the students from Class 7 gathered on the playground, each equipped with a tactical backpack and a bicycle. For some reason, it felt like we were about to go on a spring outing, though it'd be even more convincing if those classmates carrying broadswords and hammers could stash their weapons away. Accompanied by head teacher Chung Yong, combat instructor Nyo Ji also joined the expedition. With the two teachers taking positions at the front and rear of the group, all 22 students set off toward the wilderness. At the checkpoint of the large iron gate, since this was a class activity, Chung Yong had registered in advance. After completing the verification process alone, he led us into the wilderness. Once inside the wilderness, he took us directly to Tianyun High School No. 8's designated examination area. Before entering the territory of the exotic beasts, he gathered everyone and announced that we would be divided into 4 teams of 5 members each. Each team's mission was to eliminate 10 exotic beasts within 8 hours. Zhang Shijing pointed out that with 22 students, 2 would be left out. Chung Yong assigned me to team up with Song Qinghuan and added that my only task was to avoid getting injured. This remark drew laughter from many, while even more shot envious and resentful glances my way. But now with the directed mission offer from Jubiai University and being the youngest tactician in Tianyuan City, they wouldn't dare mock me openly, they could only console themselves about my disastrous martial arts talent privately. With a helpless expression, I turned to Lu Long, whose face was full of envy, and spread my hands, my gesture silently conveying that it wasn't that I refused his protection, but the teacher simply wouldn't allow it. Lu Long's face twisted in exaggerated anguish. Chung Yong then proceeded to divide everyone into groups based on their abilities. I honestly stood with Song Qinghuan and asked her if we also needed to slay 10 beasts. She nodded and said it was a pre-graduation exam that would be recorded in our files. I pondered for a moment, then suddenly had an idea. Turning to her, I said, Qinghuan, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. I'm Su Yu. After the wilderness trial groups were assigned, that guy Zhang Shijing looked at Song Qinghuan and me huddled together discussing matters, his eyes full of jealousy. He even clenched his fists and vowed to prove he was more suited for Qinghuan than I was. At teacher Chung Yong's signal, everyone charged into the mutated beast territory. He shook his head at the others, then urged Qinghuan and me to move out. When I jokingly said I'd show him the scouting techniques from the books, his face darkened in anger and he told me to get lost, so Qinghuan and I immediately bolted. Teacher Chung Yong arranged for teacher Nyo Ji to follow groups 3 and 4, while he took groups 1 and 2 along with Qinghuan and me. Teacher Nyo Ji asked if I'd absorbed a blood crystal, noticing my significant improvement in chi and blood. Teacher Chung Yong nodded but added that even with the boost, I'd probably remain about the same. After all, my reputation as a combat idiot was deeply ingrained. Other squads hadn't even advanced 100 meters before encountering mutated beasts. Meanwhile, on our side, the moment a beast showed itself, Qinghuan took it down with a single precise shot, freezing it solid. I leisurely followed up to finish it off, leaving everyone else utterly dumbfounded. Teacher Chung Yong and teacher Nyo Ji watched this scene with twitching eyelids and trembling lips. Teacher Chung Yong gritted his teeth, believing I deliberately twisted the knife further to provoke my classmates, and even remarked that Qinghuan shouldn't have used supernatural abilities against low-tier magical beasts. Zhang Shijing, witnessing this scene, swung his blade with even greater force, disregarding their prior emphasis on teamwork. Still, he was quite skilled. After a few swift dodges, he decapitated the flame-eyed goat, then shot me a challenging look. Meanwhile, I was busy taking photos of the beast with my camera, while Qinghuan stood by, smiling at me. Zhang Shijing urged everyone to quickly dispose of the corpses and move forward. Unbothered by the disdainful glances leveled at me, I calmly finished photographing the carcasses and regarded the magical beasts with keen interest. The school had clearly gone to great lengths to prepare for this trial run. The first batch we encountered had practically no offensive capability. After finishing with the carcass, I said goodbye to Lu Long and left without waiting for a response. He clearly had no interest in acknowledging me. Teacher Chang Yang watched regretfully as he had paired me with Qinghuan. The subsequent monsters grew increasingly fierce, and when students got injured, he still wouldn't intervene, saying anyone who couldn't handle trials like this didn't deserve to enter the wilderness. When Qinghuan and I returned with 10 beast parts, our classmates regarded us with a mix of disdain and envy. The sight spurred Zhang Shijing to hasten his efforts. The trial was nearing its end, and the beasts grew even more ferocious. Instructor Chang Yong assigned Qinghuan to watch over the 4th group, while Instructor Lu Ji followed the 3rd team. When I asked which group I should be responsible for, Instructor Chung Yong told me to stick with the 1st group, advising me to learn from Zhang Shijing's combat techniques. With a quick affirmation, I rushed straight out, so fast that Instructor Chung Yong even suspected my speed had improved significantly. After catching up with Zhang Shijing and the others, I perched on a tree branch to observe their battle with the beast. The 5-member team had specialized roles, some wielded shields, others carried spears or bows, while Zhang Shijing led the offensive. I frowned after watching for a while. Zhang Shijing's solo fighting mentality was too strong, making the other 4 members seem like burdens to him. After Chang Wangmon was dealt with, 2 of them were wounded. I watched calmly without a word, realizing that insufficient strength would only hold others back. This heightened my sense of urgency to improve my own abilities. As I observed, I silently compared and analyzed my own performance in my mind. Before long, they encountered the final mutated beast, the Earth Jackal. Zhang Shizheng's expression turned grave, as this creature was notoriously difficult to deal with, capable of unleashing a desperate final surge of strength when severely injured. He instructed the wounded Li Hao and Jiang Wei to stay back while Yang Shu and Zhang Wei provided backup. Then he charged forward himself. I assessed that Zhang Shizheng had the advantage in both speed and power, and sure enough, he gained the upper hand within moments. But when they saw the dire wolves severely injured, the two wounded ones wanted to join the fight again. Li Hao charged forward with his spear, and instantly the dire wolf ignored Zhang Shizheng and the others' attacks, its eyes bloodshot as it leaped toward Li Hao. Today's wilderness trial was truly full of unexpected twists. At that moment, when the dire wolf came leaping at him, the already injured Li Hao froze in panic. Zhang Shizheng, his face twisted in desperation, tried frantically to stop the dire wolf, but in that split second, there was no way he could move fast enough to prevent the beast from pouncing on Li Hao. Yang Shu, following closely behind Li Hao, immediately frantically called for the teacher using his wristband. Teacher Cheng Yong received the message and came rushing over like a gust of wind. Just as Li Hao stood frozen before the gaping maw of the dire jackal, even forgetting to raise his spear in defense, I made my move. My finely crafted black dagger pierced through the dire jackal's skull with a sickening squelch, instantly spraying Li Hao's face with its blood. Then, with a heavy thud, the jackal's corpse collapsed onto Li Hao, pinning him to the ground. Already injured, Li Hao coughed up blood from the crushing weight. Yet seeing this, everyone else visibly relaxed with relief. Had it not been for my dagger, whose terrifying force surpassed even a sniper's bullet, instantly obliterating the jackal's maw and piercing its skull, Li Hao might have suffered far worse than just vomiting blood. The group turned their gazes toward the direction the dagger had come from. Without turning around, Yang Shu exhaled deeply, dropping to the ground in exhaustion. Thank goodness the teacher made it in time, he muttered, his voice still trembling with lingering fear. But when he followed everyone's gaze and turned to look, seeing me approaching with that annoying smile, he was dumbfounded and stammered, "No, it can't be." Li Hao was pinned to the ground, breathing heavily. I walked past them, retrieving the dagger embedded in the tree trunk and wiping the blood from it. Turning back, I noticed the homeroom teacher watching me gloomily from a distance. Immediately, a warm smile appeared on my face as I greeted him. "Hey, teacher, what brings you here?" Teacher Cheng Yong ignored me. After glancing at the dead hyena on the ground, he told us to dispose of the body properly and return to wait, saying our mission was already complete. After saying that, he was about to rush back to the second team. He had already started heading back but suddenly stopped and turned around to tell me to return and wait, not to wander around, and even asked others to keep an eye on me. I wore an innocent expression. Hadn't I just saved a classmate? Why wasn't I getting any praise? Teacher Cheng Yong reflected on his way back, realizing he had made quite a few mistakes. First, he shouldn't have assumed Zhang Shizheng was capable of leading the team alone against the mutated beasts. Second, he shouldn't have thought I lacked the ability and let me act alone. Though I inadvertently helped him correct the first mistake through sheer luck, he still felt lingering fear. While self-reflecting, he suddenly yelled in alarm, worried that I might choose to major in combat studies while minoring in tactics. He was even tempted to rush back immediately and contact Zhuge Yun about it. At 5 p.m., everyone gathered. Not a single team had flawlessly completed their mission, each had someone injured, and in our team, I had to step in. Soon, the whole class knew about how I saved Li Hao with my dagger. The homeroom teacher first acknowledged his own mistake, then sternly criticized Li Hao's reckless and undisciplined behavior. Zhang Shizheng was also scolded for acting alone. I was puzzled. Why was I being reprimanded for saving someone? The teacher said my actions were dangerously risky. What if the dagger had missed and struck a classmate instead? He also emphasized that mastering strength after absorbing blood crystals requires long-term refinement and warned against overconfidence. Li Hao, who had been scolded to tears, instinctively felt a chill on his scalp. Meanwhile, I maintained the innocent facade of a model student, while Song Qinghuan stifled laughter beside me. After returning from the wilderness, everyone began discussing enthusiastically. Some claimed I'd only saved Li Hao because of the blood crystal's effects, while others watched with envy, convinced they'd gain greater improvements than me after absorbing their own blood crystals. I really want to tell everyone that my progress isn't due to blood crystals. Just one blood crystal increased my vitality by 15 points. When our group exited the wilderness and registered our combat contributions at the checkpoint, I was about to leave after receiving my wristband from the soldier when Jingyao appeared. He asked if it was a class activity, and I told him it was a wilderness trial. He said Northwest Sky Wolf Military Academy was willing to increase their resource allocation for me by another tier as long as I joined. All resources would be at S grade, and they even guaranteed I'd break through to the 4th rank martial artist level. The entire class 3 to 7 was stunned. Some couldn't believe a military academy had approached me voluntarily. Teacher Chung Yong's gaze turned sharp in an instant, and he rushed to my side in 3 steps, saying my top priority now was preparing for graduation and the entrance exams. Then he quickly ushered me away. Jing Yao didn't seem to mind anyway, since their sincerity had already been demonstrated. Teacher Chung Yong, noticing others were still dazed, shouted for them to return to school and prepare their self-criticisms. As he rode away with me on his bike, he grew increasingly agitated about how outrageous it was that other schools, even military academies, were poaching students. Pedaling furiously, he left the others far behind so quickly that I didn't even need to move my legs on my own bike.